Listen to the LARP Lounge live on Sundays at 12 p.m. Mountain Standard Time at twitch.tv/Aerostar. That's twitch.tv/ARRUSTAR.
Welcome everybody to episode 3 of the LARP Lounge. Here we have Crow, full name, go ahead and say it.
Krowthus Quince.
He is it not on omnidirectional? I didn't see the thing move at all.
Alright, am I here now?
I think so.
It looks like it.
Alright.
Looks better.
So go ahead and say your name again.
So it's Krowthus Quince.
And you are, what was your recent title in the town?
Oh, Sheriff of Northwatch.
He just recently retired, and that's why he's here today, because we're going to be talking all about retiring characters and how it works. And she has another character from Alliance this time.
No, this one is actually a mythic character. I only play for the Pale Dreams.
Oh.
So, since you don't come to that one, you've never seen him.
No, I've never met. So what's your character's name?
My name is Kavi. I don't have a last name, just Kavi.
Sometimes that's all you need. It's like, well,
Yeah, just like Cher.
except. Wow. Before we get started, though, I want to ask the same question that I have asked every guest on the show so far. What is LARP mean, or what does it mean to you? What is the definition of LARP to you?
To me specifically?
Yes.
Well, I've been an avid gamer since I was a young kid, since I was just really, really, really little. LARP is kind of a personal expression of how to roleplay, is really how it is, because, you know, in a tabletop roleplay, you can say anything your character does. You know, hey, I go and do a backflip around the wall, or, you know, I do this to the enemy, or anything like that. In LARP, you actually get to define that. So, you know, it's as a large individual, you know, there are some things that I'm physically not capable of doing, but some things that I physically am capable of doing. And it's nice to be able to actually step into a world of LARP where you can express that in a way that you can have fun with. So.
Absolutely. There's things that Crow is just physically capable of that I am not physically capable of. We get a little bit of give and take with our spells, like
Sure.
our abilities, like, oh, sidestep, you didn't actually hit me, even though you totally did. But the that physical engagement, to be able to be like, no, I don't roll the dice to see if I hit that guy. I have to actually go hit them. It's
further than that too. I mean, there's
level.
been many situations like in LARP where, you know, in a role playing game or something like that, you're like, oh, my comrade fell down. Okay, I pick him up and I run with him. And even in Mythic, there are, you know, feats of strength and stuff like that where you're like, oh, I've got so much strength, I can pick you up, and then the person just stands up and you just kind of walk side by side. But, like, in my case, because I have the skill of strength, so in-game I'm capable of doing it, but the fact that I can just literally grab you off the ground, throw you over my shoulder, and then run away with you, adds a whole new level to the game that just doesn't exist in a lot of cases. So
Absolutely.
So Nevitz says, he quoted me.
LARP is eating your friends.
LARP is eating your friends, duh. So. That's why I started laughing.
While they're silently screaming.
Yeah, while they scream in silence. Yeah, I believe that was the full thing. But I do like that, and he is definitely, like, when it comes to holding the line. If you need someone to hold the line, Crow and Boji are about the two to do it.
Yeah.
Because their size is going to do it. They're going to fill that gap, and they are not going to move.
Yeah. Guys, we have an 8-foot wide hallway. Boji and Crow got it.
That's right.
I mean, that's what my shield... See, I can't do that. That's why I have to have a shield. My shield compensates for my lack of size in that matter, for sure. But so, let's see. Thanks for watching it. Oh. I just hugged myself. How awkward is that?
You just hugged yourself?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Aerostar hugs Aerostar.
Sometimes self-love is most important.
Sometimes you gotta show yourself the love, man.
You want to talk about the donation?
Yep, I was going to say that's a good time. It's talking about, love and caring and stuff like that. I would like you to talk about the Mother's Nest and kind of why we're doing that today and what it means to you.
All right. Yeah. So the Mother's Nest is a nonprofit organization that was started by a really good friend of mine, Meredith Frazier. And it is dedicated to helping women through postpartum and all of the different varieties and ranges of what that looks like, and taking care of moms from conception all the way through, the first several years even of a child's life, because there's so many physical, emotional, hormonal changes that a woman goes through, and our society is no longer set up to really help women through this time. We see a lot of women who go through postpartum and don't get help. About 50% of those women will commit suicide, and it's something I feel very strongly about, having had 6 kids myself and having gone through postpartum. And not knowing what it was, because it's not something our society talks about. And it really means a lot to me that my friend has decided to put this together. Her big goal right now is to get to establish basically a home. She needs a building where she can bring mommies in, and they won't be torn from their families, because most of the time if a woman goes into a hospital or something and says, I'm suicidal, or I am having thoughts about hurting my children, or things like that, they will be separated from their kids and their families, and that just compounds the trauma for them. And so she's trying to make a safe place, gathering so many professionals. She has been hitting the pavement really, really hard, gathering professionals and researchers that support what she's doing. But the big push right now is to get the funds to establish a building. So that's what we're working for.
I didn't realize that the ratio was 50, like it was that high. 50% of mothers will do that. I didn't realize it was.
Yeah, if you don't get help.
Yeah.
And a lot of moms don't even know that they need help, because they're so far gone mentally that there is no hope.
Yeah, just the emotional tax there is just beyond what they're able to handle by themselves.
Yeah, it's rough. So, anyways, that's.
So there is a link in the chat for anyone that wants to look at Mother's Nest and learn about it themselves if they'd like. Also, any donations today that are made, they're all going to go directly towards Mother's Nest. So, yeah.
Thank you very much for doing that.
Well, we can try.
Yeah.
So,
And do what we can.
I noticed that it was something important to you, and since you're co-hosting for me, you're doing me a favor. We can turn around and do you a favor. So,
absolutely.
although you have as much fun doing this as I do, I think.
No, I
so.
do. I have a lot of fun doing this.
So.
It's been really good.
But yeah, speaking on that note, she is going to be the permanent co-host of the LARP Lounge, so you guys are going to be seeing a lot more of her. But that's what you guys requested anyway. So, I don't think.
Calling you? Are we calling you Lita? Is that okay, or do you?
Yeah,
want to
no,
okay.
Lita's totally fine. Most people online know me as Lita. So.
Okay.
So Lita's like her main character, and that's what she'll be dressed up as probably most of the time.
Yeah.
But you have a ton of characters to alternate through, so.
Yeah, I've got one or two.
Yeah. So. All right, well, let's get into the topics of this since we've already covered the first question. So, I guess first question, like, what is character retirement? Like, I mean, like, what is it? What does it mean? What is it?
So, really, character retirement for Mythic specifically, I know most LARP communities kind of have their own interpretation of what retirement is, or when a character is no longer played. In Mythic, character retirement is the end of your storyline. It's you have hit the apex of everything you've tried to do and have conquered that thing. So once you have hit that point, you are officially retired. You have gone off with an organization to, spend the rest of your days helping them accomplish their goals. Or like in my case for Crow, my whole story arc has been kind of around the dragons, specifically the ambassadors of Cerelia, which is Nadrak, Thalamir, and Rome. And because in my past, I've been playing this character since 1999, so for 20 years I've been playing this character. I've had a deep connection with Nadrak specifically, so my retirement has been around actually leaving Cerelia with Nadrak to do what we're doing.
Yeah, that was pretty intense to see Nadrak come into game, and I was like, wait, there's Nadrak and there's Rome and they're talking. Wait, bro, you're gonna go? Like, I was like totally trying to be quiet because like they're having a serious role play moment, but inside I'm like, what's going on?
What's happening right now? Yeah, no, it's when it actually kind of came to light what was actually happening. There were several people who shed tears and were like, because you get so emotionally invested. Like I said, because I've been this character for so long, I've made a lot of connections with a lot of the different characters. As Nevitz says there, Crow will be missed. Like, I have made so many connections with so many other characters that, when it was officially announced, where it was like, hey guys, here's what's going on, I'm going. Like, people were distraught almost about it. So
yeah, I know. It was, if it wasn't such an already like taxing weekend for Lita, right. Yeah, I was like, Crow, I'm gonna come have a drink with you, but then I never made it, and I feel so bad.
Well, and it's really weird too, because like me and Nevitz, our characters just discovered something about Crow too. Like, we're related, some form like second or third cousins. So
some distant relation.
Some distant relations. We just kind of found that out, and they said, "Well, I'm leaving." So it's like we just found more family, and now they're leaving. So I told him that he'd be missed. He doesn't believe me, but he will, just because he's family.
Crow's too hard. Crow, you're gonna be missed. No.
Yeah, that is Crow. So. Yeah, Nevitz also says he's trying to do some more work with his other character outfit and whatnot. Yeah, you have been. He's been looking at different stuff for her, but that's for our Bromerai characters that...
By the way, Nevitz, I'll get back to you on that. Sorry if I haven't responded yet. It's been a busy morning.
This is the response.
I need a new shirt, too, that I'm going to probably have to commission you to make, like this, but it's going to be a different color.
Okay.
So...
Yeah. Pretty easy.
So let's talk about, so that's like the fun way of retiring. What's the other way of retiring?
So
the way that Stella retired?
Right, oh yeah. Oh,
and Storm.
That was,
and Storm.
And several people. So okay. I think they kind of went over it before, where when you die, you get to draw the marbles from the bag and everything like that, and for every death that you have, white marble is replaced by a black marble if you are past your safe deaths. So they were saying before, where you get your 3 safe deaths in Mythic, everything after that you're kind of at risk. So at your 4th, 5th, 9th, whichever it takes, if you go through the circle and you pull that black marble, your soul is considered obliterated. Now, when it comes to in-game for Mythic reasons, you have 2 options. You can either allow it to happen and actually have your soul obliterated and your character never comes back into game. Like, your character sheet is ripped up and like that's it. You are completely stricken from everything. In the entirety of Mythic, I can only think of 3 people have chosen that option.
I was going to ask, I didn't know.
It's really kind of funny because we were going over it the other day as well, and all 3 people at the time were playing Zellicu.
Wow.
So literally the only characters who have chosen obliteration have all been Zellicu.
Wow.
So your other option is to take a forced retirement package, which is basically at that moment, right where you are with whatever you have on you, you're retired. Like, that's it, you're done. You get all the same perks and everything as a retired character, which we'll get into in a little bit. But it's basically as you are. So you get no preparation. There's no, hey, let's finalize some story things that you were working on or anything like that. It's at that moment, whatever you were doing, that's it. You're retired. So, and that did unfortunately happen to one of our characters this last weekend, or in the August weekender. That did happen. It was their 4th death, and they happened to draw the black marble.
Yep.
So 4 black marbles in a bag of 10, and they happened to draw one. Off they went.
I believe that's the same thing that happened to Storm. I believe it was her 4th.
It was her 4th death.
Yeah, and apparently that happens a lot more often than people would think. Yep. From talking to a few members on staff, they said it happens way more than people think. So.
Yeah. It doesn't happen on the 4th death. Like most people, it's like their 5th or 6th death is when it happens. And we do have one character who is retired now who actually made it all the way to their 9th death before they drew a black marble. So they fortunately elected retirement kind of beforehand, and then died, and then drew a black marble. So they're like, well, at least I'm retired. So
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, how many does Lita have?
That's Silmarwyn, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Lita has 8.
You're at 8 deaths now?
8 deaths.
Yeah.
Guess how many times Crow has gone through the circle? In 20 years of playing him, guess how many times he's gone through the circle? None.
Wow.
I have literally gone through the circle. Now, I have 2 deaths on my sheet because of giving up lives to do stuff like that. In fact, both the lives that I gave up were for the same purpose and to the same creature. But gone through the circle 0 times.
Yeah, Nevis is right. Sabella was planning on retiring the good way at Winterfest, which is a big event that we have next year.
Yes.
Well, every year around February.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's usually around last of January, 1st of February.
So she was already working on like that final character arc and everything, and then this happened. So she was needless to say, she was devastated. But most are when that happens to them, because like Crow said, you invest a lot of time into these characters, so it's quite a bit different than when a D&D character dies. So not to say that it's not difficult when a D&D character dies, it's just because there's way more time and personality, I guess, invested in them, that it's a lot harder.
It feels more like a piece of yourself. I don't know. I know when I play Lita, I'm like, this is my, warrior, get things done, not going to take no for an answer, like, I'm going to do things, right? That's my personality when I'm playing Lita. That is me. And so...
Yeah, a lot of things about Crow's personality kind of reflect me as just a person as well. Obviously Crow's a little bit more angry. I mean, unless you know me really well. But
speaking of, since he retired, there's no longer a sheriff in town, and I was thinking about this recently, who they might pick, and I was thinking that Lita would be a great pick. Yeah, who was it that came into town and yelled at everybody for that one incident? Yeah, like you already act like the law, so like.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would want a white knight as the sheriff, though.
But you're different than the other one, so that's kind of the thing. But
I mean, yeah, I'm not the same as Brent and Tibregus, but
yeah,
she'd still
don't get me started on Tibregus.
She'd still be a lot stricter than I think people would appreciate, but.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just thinking who they would do, but
I think unfortunately Lita has a lot of things going against her for the whole being sheriff. Where King Gil may appreciate having, say, a white knight after having berserkers and stuff like that in the roles previous, and then like all the people before, even Boji was sheriff and everything. Mm-hmm. I'm sure King Gil wouldn't mind having a white knight. But Lita specifically has a couple of extra things going against her.
Her undeadness.
That namely being the main one.
Yeah, that's true.
Going against her to, I think, be actually chosen for that position. So I don't know if that would happen.
Yeah.
So
I just wonder who it would be, but
I had a very interesting conversation with Oren.
Yeah, I know.
Kind of going over the whole aspect of like, hey, who should be sheriff and stuff like that, and I don't know if I should say anything.
I know, I was going to ask. I don't know. Like, I'm like, this is all meant to be out of game, but like that would be really hard information.
Yeah, you don't want it to bleed. I'd just.
Well, no. So I mean, really, when it comes down to it's when I left several letters for people as well, and it kind of goes over that in the letter that I left for Oren, and kind of talking about the position of sheriff, what it means, what it does, and everything like that. Crow's honest take from it, after being sheriff for, what was I sheriff for? A little more than a year, maybe.
Yeah.
Was all, and getting in trouble along the way. His honest take from it was to tell Oren, sheriff is not necessary in town. So where having somebody who is capable or has the authority to uphold the law or make those judgments, Crow honestly hopes that we can get to a point where that position is not necessary. That not a single person does not have to have that role, but that the town can kind of monitor themselves and actually unify themselves under the laws of Falcon Crest, and stop doing some of the shady things that
some
people are doing.
Good luck with that. Nevitz says he says we need to be ready. We need to be really edgy and have a full-on assassin as sheriff.
Oh my god.
Maybe one that's a vampire even. That'd be great. Yeah.
He's not anymore.
Oh. When did that?
Was it the July Weekender?
The one that I wasn't at.
I think so. Yeah. We had
That would be why I didn't know
Marwin
this.
came in and we empowered a ritual with a blessed sulphur leaf and.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's what we
I didn't
needed
know that.
for.
Yeah, so that's.
Yeah, no, I was.
You should probably have a conversation with him.
I
Well,
was
if I'd see him as the.
drunk and in the pirates' tent most of the time.
I think right after it happened is when I came in and started gambling with the pirates, because it was like, well, that was a thing. No, I need a drink and gamble. No, I can't take this right now. Somewhere else. Here we go.
Let's see. I want Crow Steel Gourd for my other character. Oh.
Isn't it cool? I like
Oh,
it.
this guy right here.
I like your
I've had
gourd.
a few people have actually asked about this and like where I got it and everything like that. Like this, I got off just. Can I say websites and stuff?
Yeah.
So this I just got off Wish.com.
And they're not a sponsor, by the way. But.
Yeah, not a sponsor, anything like that. But I just got it off Wish.com, and as long as you're willing to wait the 6 weeks that it takes for shipping and everything, I think I got this one for $7 because it was on their sale. So it was normally like one of those like $20 things, but because I've been buying stuff off Wish for so long, they every once in a while give you the you get 50% off your next purchase. I picked this up and it was like $7. So.
I like the gourd that you have, though, Nevitz. It looks more authentic. This is more functional, I would say, probably than yours, but I like the one that he has for himself. It's an actual gourd.
It's an actual
Right.
gourd, yeah. I like, have you seen Layden's gourd that she uses? It's a palm juice
Yeah, just
bottle
the
that she
plastic one.
painted.
Oh, yeah, I have seen that, yeah.
Yeah. I actually went and bought some of those, but I've never actually
You've
sat
never
down
done
and
it.
painted them yet.
You're so busy.
Too many things on my list.
So, it was brought up, you talked about retirement packages. So, what are those? What does that mean?
So that's going to be a little bit involved of a question. Over the years and years and years, retirement has changed in Mythic. The way that characters retire, what you get after retirement, and just kind of the general process of how the character behaves after retirement have changed, I would say, drastically over the last several years. And starting just this year, in fact, a new way of character retirement is being implemented, and they're implementing it widespread because they enjoy the way that it kind of stacks up and builds instead, and they enjoy it so much, in fact, that they're actually retroing all previously retired people to this new package.
Oh, wow.
As well.
Interesting.
So it used to be before. Let me start with it before. It used to be before you would specifically seek out some kind of template. So if you were trying to become a dragon or trying to become a lich or trying to become a legendary version of your class, so if you wanted to be a legendary warden or something of that nature, you would seek out that template and Plot would work with you to find an existing, legendary version of that. Or if you're going for something like Lich, there are certain rituals that would turn you into it. But finding those people is a very difficult task, so it takes you years and years and years to actually find the person, seek out their assistance, do tasks for them to get in their good graces, and then your retirement culminates around having that ritual cast on you, or getting training from that person, and your retirement was that template. They enjoyed the template so much that they started rolling them out in regular gameplay. And the templates became a 3-tiered system where after you received a template, let's say with like Dragon Blooded, you would get your Dragon Blooded Tier 1 template, and then as you progressed your character, you would get tokens towards that template. As you got these tokens, you'd be able to purchase the powers in that template, and once you've purchased so many, you could then seek the second tier. So once you've spent, say, 25 tokens in Tier 1, you could seek Tier 2. As soon as you got 25 in Tier 2, you could seek Tier 3. And like with Dragon Blooded, as soon as you hit Tier 3 Dragon Blooded, you became a dragon. And so that's kind of the impression that a lot of current NPCs have. A lot of the dragons that we know in-game now are actually just people who have sought out those things and have received Tier 3 of, say, that dragon-blooded thing, and have now become dragons. That's why they're not necessarily like greater dragons or great and true dragons, as they're called in Mythic, and they don't have any specific connection to anything. A lot of the full-blooded dragons, they have countries named after them, towns named after, Rome and Drac, and all those are natural dragons as they were. But some of the other dragons that we know, they're not actually dragons, they're just people who have gotten to the point of having that, Tier 3 of Dragon Blooded. Same thing with some of the liches that we know and stuff like that. So that went on for a long while.
Because Lita, her undead, is the plagued one template.
Right.
That makes sense.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So things like your plagued ones and stuff like that's from a long time ago. Wow. Was just a template, and if you were going for that kind of ultimate undead creature, that was a vampire was just a template. So
I think Nevitz is trying to be a legendary berserker. He also says he has one of those pomegranate gourds too, but
it works. It's there. They're the right shape. You toss a piece of leather around it, tie it off, put it over your shoulder, done.
Well, they hold more liquid than even that would because they're a lot bigger.
Yeah.
If you get like the big
ones.
Yeah, the big one. That's true. Yeah. I guess it depends on but that would be a little.
They have a whole bunch of different
though.
sizes.
I guess that's true.
This one gets pretty weighty once it's full of liquid and everything as well.
I would imagine, but.
So
that's the old way of doing it?
Yeah, so that's been kind of the older, more recent way that retirement has been handled, and then that's kind of where your retirement went. Then people, I think, started abusing the templates a little bit, because you could seek multiple templates and this and that, and just like any rule system, somebody's going to find a way to either min-max it or bend the rules to where they're not breaking any rules, so everything they're doing is legal, but it's right there skirting the edge.
Yeah.
And I think that really kind of started getting under people's skin because it was the same people doing it again and again and again, and even when they would approach them and be like, hey, we're going to ask you to stop doing this because, it's really kind of on the edge and nobody's having fun playing with your character, so they'd be like, fine, I'll play a new character, and then just do the exact same thing. So it was the same people doing the same thing that was causing all kinds of problems, and so they kind of tore the template aspect of seeking those things in game away again and made them more retirement option type things. But after they had several conversations and over several years, they finally culminated in what is the retirement process as it is now. So now what happens is once you let Plot know that you're ready for retirement, the story that you've been trying to run or the plot line you've been chasing for years and years gets settled up. as it were. So if you're seeking, like I'll use myself as an example, going after Nadrak to find out what's happening and hopefully get his blessing to make me one like him and everything. All of that starts to come together very quickly, and you kind of tell plot, hey, I'm hitting my retirement button, go. And they can take a couple of weeks. Like if you look at Kane's retirement, he told plot, okay, we're ready to go, and within like 3 weeks they were like, here is your end option. And he was kind of given the option of the two things that he was seeking his entire time. Sorry, Kane, if this spoils some things about your story. I think most people know it at this point, though, is he was looking at either joining the vampires via Lord Phylar or joining the Fae via Titania. Because his character, being as old as my character, has walked down both of those paths. And he has been a vampire, and he has been in service of Titania, like in both ways. When we both came back to Mythic after a bit of a break and everything, it was actually by Titania's doing that his vampirism was removed. Like, she was basically like, hey, we found your body, and you're not a vampire anymore. So now you serve me. And he was just kind of like, well, hold it, like I got no choice in this. And she went, no choice. Just do it. So when he finally hit the retirement button and told plot, okay, I'm ready. Let's do this. They actually kind of put it on him to decide, to choose ultimately if he was going to go with Lord Phylar and become a vampire again, or go with Titania and be with the Fae. And this actually started with Lord Phylar coming into town and embracing him, trying to turn him into a vampire. And Lord Phylar going nuts, drinking his blood because Titania's magic was still in there. And Phylar, like, freaking out, starts screaming at him, like, what are you trying to do to me? Like, I can't. And just, like, that whole scene, because he asked me to be there to make sure that everything was okay. That whole scene was amazing. Like, I love any time that James comes in and plays one of his characters. Is a fantastic roleplay scene. Like, I relish any opportunity that he comes in as one of his, like, old NPCs, like Lord Phylar or Nadrak or anything like that, because he doesn't hold back. Like, he knows exactly the personality of those characters from way in the past and sticks with them. Like, so cool. Absolutely ridiculous. So that scene was absolutely amazing, and that's what that's what jump-started his retirement plot, as it was. And he was given the option, and he eventually chose, and then everything happened, and it was seriously, like, as soon as he made the decision, like 3 weeks later, it's like, okay, you're retired.
Yeah, it
like,
seemed
done.
really quick for him.
Yeah. No, it was really, really quick. And then, like, for me, when I told them, they had a little bit of build-up towards everything, and getting James involved as Nadrak and this and that and the other. They had the whole thing happen where all of the ambassadors teleported into that war council to grab Talendar, and then they all portaled away and everything. Yeah. What happened, so kind of the story behind that, which I've told many people and everything, the story behind that is they grabbed Talendar because he's one of the guardians of Cerelia, as it were. And they went to the old continent of Rome because they discovered that's where Tal Segor was kind of base camped to gain power. And somehow he was able to, like, siphon off or use the mists of Rome to actually empower himself. So rather than, the mists of Rome killing everything that it touches, he was actually able to take that power and actually... channel it and empower himself. Yeah. Now, because Tal Segor is not a foolish individual by any means, he set traps for anybody who decided to, hey, we're going to come and stop you. So when they showed up, Thalamir stepped into one of these traps, completely unknown. Thalamir's kind of a full of himself. And was just like, we see you there, and we're gonna come and stop you. And steps forward, and it's kind of like in my mind, it's that classic scene of, like, step forward, click, and then a trap goes off. This trap specifically was a time and space trap, so when he stepped into it, he was sucked out of the existence of time and space. Right. Now, it was from that moment on, so we've had stuff like this happen in Mythic before, where we like suddenly forget of people or an event or something like that. This was specifically designed to remove them from time and space from that point, so that we all remember it, but now they're gone. It's just kind of Talsagor's like, haha, like, I'm going to screw with everyone type thing.
Yeah.
And Rome tried to push him out of the way of the trap, so Rome got a little bit of lashback from the trap as well, but Thalamir was completely sucked out of all of time and space.
Isn't that when Rome reverted to a kid?
Okay, so the backlash that Rome got from that is Rome himself was aged back to that of a boy. Now, of course, that's boy in the age of dragon years, so because he is a dragon. So the problem with that is because he was specifically aged backwards, all of his memories from being a boy to as we knew him are gone. So it wasn't that, his body was just aged back. He was completely rolled back in time. So his memories and his powers and all that kind of stuff were reverted as though he was just a young boy again as well. So, of course, Nadrak, Thalamir is Nadrak's brother. So when this happened, Nadrak got very upset and distraught and everything like that. And being a travel dragon, he specializes in traveling through time and space, traveling to other planets and those types of things, got a very strong impression that Thalamir's not actually gone, but has just been put into a different place in time and space. So that's what we're doing. Is Nadrak decided, well, everything on Cerelia is kind of in a tight spot right now, but I'm going after my brother, and I can't do it alone. So you're coming with me. And I was okay, yeah.
Right.
You don't really argue with that.
Oh, yeah, no, Lita watched that whole thing, and I was just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
So
it was awesome.
So over the next couple of months and everything, it was working with some of the other dragons to conduct some rituals to make it so Crow's physical body could survive traveling through time and space, traveling to other planets. So, making sure we get the ritual components to do change his transformations to make it so Crow no longer needs to breathe or doesn't get crushed under the vacuum of space, as it were. And it's the culmination module, I guess, was really kind of cool. And I'm a little sad that it was only Crow and Banner that got to experience it. But at one point during the August Weekender,
that's why you guys disappeared.
Yep. Crow got a missive and felt it perfectly that it was from Nadrak, but the message was blank.
Nevid says that he pictures Crow flying on a falcon through space.
On Falcor.
Oh, does it say on Falcor?
Yeah, on Falcor. Says,
Gaming Mama said, "Hey, Gaming Mama,
how's it going?
I thought you were still camping."
Well, I think she was supposed to come back today. I'm surprised you're back already.
She told me Monday evening when I originally asked her, but
who knows? But yeah, no, next time you see Nadrak, tell him that he's Falcor. See what happens. Anyway, so yeah, it's got a missive. Knew it was from Nadrak, but it was just completely blank. It was just nothing there, which for a ritual missive is basically impossible. Like you send a message.
There has to be a message.
It gets through. There is a message attached, but it was just blank. So it was like, oh, that was really weird. Maybe I should message him back. So I pulled out my ritual circle and went to cast the ritual, started writing out the paper, basically all the somatic components for casting missive. and I get another one. Like, as I'm, like, going through and casting, I get another one that basically says, "Come now, help."
Ooh.
And I was like,
Oh.
yes. And so all of this magic hits me, and because Banner was standing right there too, because he has a vested interest in the dragons, so he was like, "Wait, you got a what from who?" With the no, let's figure this out. So he was standing there with me. So the magic hits me because of the kind of dragon influence that Banner has as well. The magic hits him, and we both get sucked away. Just bye. We are taken to Nadrak's planar sanctum, the place where Nadrak holds portions of his power to ensure that he always has a supply. So if he gets weakened or anything like that, he can go there, get some power, leave again, and he's charged up. Because of his preparations to leave Cerelia, he put a lot of his power into his sanctum. Because it was all of this power all at once, the denizens of the Abyss felt it. And we're like, hey, that looks like a good source of power. Let's go there. So they tore open an abyssal portal to his planar sanctum and was like, oh, look at all this power, and start siphoning off the power.
Wow.
So of course Nadrak felt this, and by the time he got there, he was too weak to do anything about it. So me and Banner show up, and the whole place is just crawling with abyssal creatures and demons and fiends and all this other kind of stuff. And so we go ham. Like, we're just like, oh no, we can't have this. The entire environment was chaotic. So, it's like the ground, instead of being made up of, like, it would look like it was made up of grass and dirt, but it would actually be made up of, pure fire energy or pure arcane energy or something like that. So, like, even just stepping on the ground and stuff like that, we would be like, ow, what just hurt me? Like, the ground literally just hurt me for stepping on it. Okay, this is going to be interesting. So we go and we find the first node of Nadrak's power, and it's being siphoned off by this abyssal magic sitting around it. And we kill the demons around it, and put enough mystic energy that it explodes the abyssal energy around it and releases Nadrak's energy. And part of that energy goes to Nadrak, and a bunch of that energy went into me. So,
Blackberry has said something. So welcome, Blackberry, to the channel. So I have to do this since you're a new follower. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Hi, neighbor.
Hi, neighbor.
It looks like Gaming Mama says, Dad says hi.
oh, hi, Dad.
And I guess they came back a day early.
Dad's in the hospital.
I thought I saw
Yeah.
your sister post something about that. So
So pretty much, so my mom has my kids for their birthday this weekend. So as soon as we get the kids back, we're gonna go see them in the hospital as well. So, yeah.
Hi, Blackberry. Thanks for joining.
Hi. So a bunch of that energy explodes. Most of it goes back to Nadrak so that he can start getting his strength. Some of that energy goes into me and starts actually kind of awakening and empowering that draconic nature inside of me. Long story short of everything that happened, we find several of these nodes, and over the course of it, it gives me the ability to I get additional strength. Like, I got like another plus 10 strength.
Oh,
Because I needed that.
because you weren't strong enough already. Yeah.
It gave me like an additional plus 100 base health. It gave me the ability to dire slay. It gave me the ability to force burn 500. Dragon's breath.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, but this was pure draconic energy,
Right.
that was being siphoned into me, and just kind of like all in a burst of power, awakening those innate abilities. And by the end of it, Nadrak came before us and was like I couldn't have done it. Like, holy cow, this was nuts. This was intense. I'm done. I'm leaving. You coming? And I was like, well, yeah, I already told you I was coming. He's like, okay. And he sucks all the draconic energy from me to the point where I literally turned into a shriveled husk of nothing.
Wow.
And was like, okay, we're leaving 4 days. Be ready. And I fall over dead. And Banner's just like, all right, I guess it's a good thing I'm here, and grabs me, and we get teleported back. And so we show up, and my empty husk, dead body just flumps on the floor. And Banner's just kind of standing above me like, somebody want to come do something about this? So people come running over, and they're like, what happened? And Banner, of course, is like, that's kind of a long story.
We don't have time. Just revive him now.
Right. So they eventually get me back up. It took a couple of things to get me back up, but eventually get back up. And yeah, like at that point, it's like, did that just happen? All right, I guess 4 days and I'm gone. So all right. So by the time that next Wednesday rolled around, I was gone. Posted a big thing on the forums, just be like, hey guys, like I'm leaving, I'm gone, like, and then gone.
Evan says it's awesome to hear all this stuff about Crow, and it makes me sad at the same time because I have no idea what to do with Boji.
Well, it's so if you have something for retirement in mind, it's not a bad idea to start planning that sooner rather than later. Nothing says you have to tell Plot, hey, I'm ready for retirement right now. But for Boji, if Boji wants to, work with Chief Duru to become that legendary berserker, or wants to go down that path, start seeking that now. Because honestly, if that's something that you're looking for, Plot's going to give you a much better retirement as far as like what happens, the package details that we'll go into in just a minute, and just kind of your overall story arc. If you start planning that now and do it over the next couple of years, rather than I'll get to that in a second, Nevitz. Rather than just throwing it all on Plot right now and just being like, hey, I've played this character for a year, this is what I want, and Plot just kind of goes, no. Like, you've made no meaningful contributions, towards the game, as far as like in character goes, and you've made no attempt to actually seek that out. So, all right, if that's what you want to do, and you're going to go ahead and tell us that you're retiring the character now, you kind of get this minor version of it because you haven't been seeking it. My suggestion for anybody who is looking at retirement or wants something incredible for their retirement, like a legendary path, they want to become a vampire, they want to become a dragon, anything like that, start seeking it now and plan for the 5-year mark. Plan on playing your character for about 5 years while constantly seeking that thing.
Don't die.
That's the
thing.
3 more years, right?
But that's the big thing about it, is actually making the strives as the character over the course of 5 years to not be forced into retirement by deaths or anything like that. It's seek skills and items and abilities and stuff like that to keep yourself alive.
Right.
And that was one of the big things that Crow always did, is back before the winds of change, before the classes changed and everything, there was a class called Thane, which was basically like the uber super powerful version of Spellblades that we see now, where they were able to just do incredible things. Back then, it was very difficult for a barbarian to actually get magic, because they started out with without the ability to read and write, so they had to purchase that skill, which was 10 points of its own, but was then doubled if you were a barbarian. So it was 20 skill points just to buy read and write. Wow. And then that's back when we were doing the spell pyramids, where you have 9 levels of spells. In order to get a second level spell, you have to have 2 first level spells, and you literally have to build it as a pyramid. So to get your first 9th level spell, you have to have this many first, second, third, fourth, all the way up to 9th. And to become a Thane, you had to have 2 9th level spells.
Wow.
So you had to have 2 full pyramids of spells, and again, for a barbarian, every spell level was 1 skill point more. So, where your first level spells were 1 point apiece, They were 2 for me, and then 3, and then 4 if I, and so they were +1 for it. So it was very, very difficult, but that's where I was going. And the Winds of Change happened before I actually got to that point. I got to the point where I could take the training and everything like that, and then the Winds of Change got rid of the class. So the course that I took Crow with, the artificing and with the ritual magic and just with his own casting ability was based off that. He never stopped seeking that Thane training. And so, like, I'm sure you noticed with the post and stuff like that, now that Crow is gone and has kind of hit that culmination of his plot and skills and abilities and everything like that, he is no longer Krowthus Quince of the Clan of the Bear. He is now Crow, Thane of Nadrak. So he has hit that point finally. And that's what I'm saying is if you're seeking those things, plan on the long run. And that's just where it is. You have to plan on the long run. And if you want those things for yourself, for your own characters, look at least 5 years. Plan it out. Hope that you don't die.
Right.
And
That's the struggle that I'm having really bad right now, because after my death at this last weekender, I was approached by Plot, and Plot asked me, "So what are your plans with Lita? What are your plans?" And I was like, I don't know. I mean, I don't really feel like retiring. And then after the weekender got over, I was like, oh, but maybe I should. And now I've still gone back and forth on my feelings about it. I just don't. I'm worried. I don't want to be forced to retire, right?
Sure.
I want the retirement that I want, but I'm so if I die again, I'm screwed. There's no way. I've drawn black marbles twice.
right.
I had a spiritual fortification ritual for this last one, and then the demon that pulled
and I
me
will
back
be
together.
here for the next little while to keep you alive.
So for Lita specifically, then I would make sure that you try to seek out the spirit immortality or whatever it is, so that you gain additional safe deaths and stuff like that. Or just really watch yourself when adventuring, because it gets a little scary when you have 9 black marbles and 1 blue marble in your bag, and that's all you have.
Yeah.
So
Nevis has been playing Boji for 6 years.
So back to the previous question for Nevitz. Yeah, with Duru being dead specifically, he still has acolytes. He still has things that you can seek out that should still get you on that path. Now, where I'm pretty sure Duru himself was a legendary berserker, there is still the path that he walked down. And if you remember, a few years ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, both me and you were having a conversation with him, and he set both of us on a path to start seeking legendary berserker. So you have been playing Boji for 6 years and everything, but how much in-game seeking have you done with that? Because that's going to be the big thing. So playing the character for 5 years isn't going to get you just everything you want. You have to be actively seeking it in-game for that amount of time. So if you've been playing Boji for 6 years, but you've only been actively seeking it for 2, you still have a lot of seeking that I would say you need to do before you tell Plot, okay, I'm ready for this.
Yeah. See, I'm searching for something right now. It's not retirement, but man, oh man, it would be so nice to have Crow there. And I actually was discussing it with Boji in game. I was like, crap, we have to go do what? And Crow just left? I'm like, this is the worst timing in the world. I was like, we lost Crow and we lost Sabella. I'm like, those are 2 big powerhouses that I'm going to need for this quest. I don't know what we're going to do now. So
yeah, it's actually been brought up several times because Crow was very involved with a lot of stuff that most everyone was doing. And since it just kind of came down to it, and it was like, well, now Crow's gone. There's been several people who have said something that I've been NPCing, and I'll hear him say something in game and be like, Crow was helping me with this. Oh, dang it. And I mean, even Forley and stuff like that, because Crow was helping Forley learn weaponsmithing. And by the time Crow left, Crow basically commissioned Forley to do a bunch of stuff for the town. You know, it was basically like, hey, I'm leaving, so I don't have time to do this, so now you're doing it.
Yeah, you gave him pocket change, considering how much money you have.
Well, if we want to go into that, we can. But so that actually is a good segue into current adventuring package for retirement. So now, instead of your template outlook on everything, or going for those things specifically, the way that plot and staff and characters need to understand retirement moving forward is, once you retire, you get an adventuring package. The thing that defines you for the other times that you come into game, or just that you're known as, you know, your kind of legacy as it was after you leave. So at retirement, once your character retires, you are allowed to play that character at 4 events every year. And unless plot has otherwise designated or said, you get to choose any of those 4 events that you want. Now, depending on the way that you retire, there may be some things that you're not capable of doing, or like only at times when there's a massive surge of magical energy can you play in events, so things like Winterfest and stuff like that. Are you allowed to come back in? And like with mine specifically, where I actually really enjoyed it when they were telling me afterwards, and I personally think is hilarious because I have no idea how I'm going to do it, is they came to me and said, okay, so with the retirement and everything, you can play your 4 events. We're not going to put any restrictions on what events you can play. You come in, you can play any of the events or anything like that. But before you can come in as Crow, you need to email plot and explain why Nadrak is going to let you come back.
Oh, nice.
So it's you're not restricted. It doesn't have to be like a certain time of year. It doesn't have to be ley lines of Magic Crossing or anything like that. But explain to us why Nadrak is just like, sure, you can go back for a day or for a weekend. Explain to us why Nadrak is just letting you or allowing you to abandon your current quest to go back and do that. And I'm like, I'm never gonna play Crow again. I mean, all right, that makes sense to me now. All right.
David says, I laughed when they kicked Kane out of the final conflict with Talsagor.
So so it wasn't necessarily kicking Kane out of the final conflict with him. It's retired PCs
Had a different.
already had a specific task.
Yeah,
and so even though Mike was there to play Kane, his character is still a retired PC. Yeah. And so because of what plot had already put in beforehand, like they already said, this is what happens with retired PCs, even though he was there playing his retired PC, they went, sorry, retired PCs are doing this other thing.
Yeah, so you basically can't be in 2 places at once.
Right.
They were like, you already have a pre-designated destination,
right.
So even though you're physically here, you're not physically here because you can't be.
Right. So it's you walked up with the town, the rest of town and everything, and then you ran ahead to go join the rest of the retired PCs to do their portion of the fight. So he wasn't specifically kicked out of the fight. He was just already designated to his role and didn't have the choice to abandon that position.
Does anyone know what happened in that fight? I just heard there was a ton of deaths.
There were so they went off and they did their thing, and a bunch of the characters, retired characters, died, but they completed their task.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
and
they
I'm
died.
not sure
they
how.
They came back through the circle.
Yeah. Because they're adventurers and everything, they all came back through the circle. One really nice thing is once you retire, your deaths are reset back to 0.
Oh.
So you get your 3 safe deaths again and everything like that. So if something were to happen to Lita, it's not like you retire and you retain all 9 deaths or whatever it is at that point. So that is a thing. So yeah, the people that ended up dying in that kind of designated thing, I'm not sure how they determined who was going to die, but it was,
Right,
this person
yeah.
died and came through the circle, this person died and came through the circle.
I think they like drew lots.
Yeah, I think it was literally for this person, roll the dice. They do die. Roll the dice. This person does not die. This person does not die.
Right.
And I think that's how it worked. And then they put the story together, on like what they did based around that. So it's like,
Right.
okay, well, this person died. Here's what they were doing that caused them to die. So because there are some really powerful retired PCs.
Yeah.
So and like all the Garadetskis were there and everything like
Yeah.
that. And I think a couple of them ended up going through the circle as
Yeah,
well. So
Anton.
I think Anton and
died,
Yuri.
And Yuri died. Yeah, saving Svetlana. I think is what the story was.
So, but they did that, and it made sense at the end. When they were rolling lots and everything, or however they did it, and they decided, okay, well, Svetlana, Nikolai, and Sonia, they all survive, but Yuri and Anton die. Here's the story of how that went down. So no, they're really clever when it comes to coming up with the story
Especially
like that and everything.
on their feet
Yep.
like that too.
Yep.
They're so good.
So, what was I talking about?
We were talking about retirement packages, but before we get going, I just want to remind anyone in chat, at any time you can ask us questions.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
That's what we're
please
here
do.
for.
Yep,
So
please
if you
do.
have any questions, or he makes a comment about something like Nadrak or something, and you don't know what that is or whatever, ask us and we'll let you know. So
Yeah, absolutely.
So getting back to the adventure package and everything.
Question for Crow.
Yeah. I'll wait for that to come in. The adventure package is then designated based on several factors: how long you played the character, how many memberships you've paid for, and the amount of things that you go out of game with. So that's going to be items, consumables, components, and of course coin. Before, it used to be when you retired with a chunk of coin or anything like that, you got one of two options. You could either sacrifice everything, just every single penny that you have, and your new character coming in gets 20% of that amount.
Wow.
So if you go out of game with 10 gold and you just liquidate it all, your new character comes into game with 2 gold.
Oh. Hi, Travis.
What are you planning on playing for your next character? I don't know yet. So that's been a personal conflict for me, just because I've been playing this character for so long and everything. I am having a very difficult time imagining myself playing something different. So where I've tossed a couple of concepts out there, I've actually bounced a few ideas off of other people and whatnot to see if they think it kind of fits and everything like that. I'm having a difficult time seeing myself playing another character, and so that's really what's kind of driving. It's driving me away from settling on another character. Personally wants to see a 6'5" Fae. Fae was not out of the question. So it's unfortunately Travis has an issue. I'm highly allergic to theatrical makeups. So, a lot of the makeups, even the dots, I don't think you can't see them on the camera. The dots that I have on my face and everything like that, they're literally just Sharpie marker, because I have a very, very high allergic reaction, like to the point where my eyes will swell shut. And I've worked in haunted houses and stuff in the past, working for a Rocky Point haunted house and stuff like that, way long ago, if that dates me. To the point where, if I get theatrical makeup on my face and everything, like, my eyes will actually, like, swell shut. Like, golf balls. Like, yeah, it was... My mom seeing me the next morning for that was amusing and humorous, and I'm sure if I could actually see her, that it would have been fun.
Kavoth Arcane asks, what if someone wants to be a villain?
Okay, I'll get to that. But because of that reaction, it hinders me from being able to play certain things. So I'd love to play like an orc, but I can't paint my face green. So if I wanted to do something like that, I'd have to do like a mask or prosthetics or something like that. Because I'm not allergic to spirit gum, so I can do the spirit gum and stuff like that. But I can't just paint my face green. Right. Or if I wanted to play like a Thor, I've got the build and everything like that. I could definitely play a Thor, but I can't paint my face gray. I can't paint myself, for Zellicue, for any of those that require a lot of racial makeup and stuff like that. I physically am incapable of doing it. So it kind of regales me to being like a fae if I want to do a little bit of like glitter or something like that, like the little like glitter glue type stuff, because I don't know if I'd be able to do the glitter paint.
Yeah, I have the glitter that I use for Aziza is like it's got an adhesive that you put on first, and then you dab the glitter on.
Yeah, so I'd be fine doing that. So I could definitely do something like a fae, fake horns or whatever there, or really like a barbarian or a human, either of the humans. So like a human or a gypsy, I suppose. But it really limits me to what I can do. So where I would love to play like an orc or something, one of the big things that I was thinking of doing was doing an orc kind of based off of like Thrall in like World of Warcraft or something like that. Kind of that just deep elemental rooted, orc shaman type thing. Get the big bead necklace and all that kind of stuff. Walk around with a staff and kind of hunched over with a big cloak on. So I would love that. But unless I'm willing to drop the $800 on a full latex mask to get away with it or something, probably not going to happen. Yeah. So I've tossed out a couple of ideas and stuff like that to some people, and I definitely think because Crow was a very involved, serious character, even though I would joke around a lot as Crow, and he laughed a lot, he made people laugh a lot, and would gamble and all that kind of stuff. Down to his core, he was a very serious character. Took everything very serious and took, it's. I think one of the reasons that they elected him to become sheriff was the fact that he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty, as it were. And if something needed to happen, well, Crow would make it happen, whether it was legal or not.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking of a couple things, but I haven't actually chosen. For the question there, if somebody wants to be a villain, you are allowed to play your character however you want to. We have classes and skills and rules in place and everything like that if you want to be the villain that comes into town and steals everybody's stuff, no. That was to Nevet's question there. Yep, not going to happen. But if you want to come in and you want to be that villain, you want to come in as the necromancer character, or you want to come in and be the thief that literally everybody else goes off on an adventure and you stay back and rob everybody else's house blind or something. There are rules and everything in place that as long as you follow those rules, you are absolutely allowed to do that. Now, with that being said, if you are ever caught
in game,
that character will not last very long. So if you plan on playing a villainous character, do it, ham it up, have fun for as long as you can, because I can almost guarantee that unless you are really good at what you're doing, that character won't see 1 year old.
Yeah.
I mean, perfect example are the Parthens that came in. I wouldn't necessarily call them super villainous, but they did try to steal from almost everybody in town.
Tried to steal, tried to get people killed,
extortion. They extorted that kid for protection money.
Well, he was like the third person that weekend too. Like,
so
I don't know how they convinced 3 separate people on 3 separate occasions of, hey, pay us money and we'll totally protect you. How did people fall for it? Like, those guys must have maxed out their charisma scores. Other than like charisma and luck, that's all they have.
That kid specifically was that like, give us money or we'll kill you.
Right,
that was what his was.
That was the final draw too.
Yeah,
that was the one that it was literally like Crow and Orin then sought them out and they were like, pay your fine or you're dead.
Yeah.
You have 1 month.
So
yeah.
Just to give you an idea, K-Bloth, those guys were there for one weekender, and that was it. And they have a warrant out for their execution.
Yep.
So they're pretty much done.
Granted, they do have until the end of the September weekender to pay their fine.
That's true.
Otherwise, they're...
Yep. So if by the end of the September weekender, if they are not there and they do not pay their fine, there is an open arrest warrant out for them to then be taken to the range guard to be executed.
So that's why he says get your kicks in while you can, because you may not last that long. So they were such fun characters.
Oh yeah,
though.
no, I agree. Like
fun.
I said, it's they were fantastic to role play with. Their ideas and everything behind everything they were doing was very calculated.
Their commitment to wearing those full fur suits
Oh, yeah.
in the
middle of June.
It was middle of June.
Oh my gosh! I was like,
No, and we're not talking about like fur suits, like like a crafted fur suit. These were like carpets that were like rolled over and then stitched, and they would wear them and just absolutely ridiculous and they were very fun to role play with and to have there. But if that's the type of character that you're going to play, just understand that if you're caught, you're not going to be playing that character for very long.
yeah. I mean, our adventuring town is generally around to make the world a better place. Generally, we try.
Generally, that's a very
Yeah, we try,
LOL
and so
things, yeah.
overall, most of the players in town won't put up with that. Some don't care. Some other players don't, or characters don't care.
Well, and frankly, for a couple of characters that we have in game currently, they would actually latch onto that and help you be that villainous character.
Yeah.
There are a couple of people that we have in game right now that are not necessarily villainous themselves, but
are in it for the profit.
yeah, but they are absolutely in it for personal gain, and I'm sure both of you know exactly the people I'm talking about. And if in game you are able to connect with these people, they will help you on your road to being a villain. So
Dark, treacherous.
oh yeah, so even though they won't break any of the laws or commit any of the acts themselves, they will absolutely aid you
Oh, they'll
in
totally
doing
cover
it.
for you.
Oh yeah, like 100%.
They'll totally cover for you. I know.
Yep.
So I mean, the option is there. Like he said, it's there, but you just got to be really smart about it.
Yep.
So
Getting back to the adventures package and everything like that. So based off all those different credentials that you leave game with, which again is a big thing if you're forced to retire, is how many years you've played the characters, how long you've been a member of Mythic Realms, and the specific things that you leave game with as far as magic items and coin and stuff like that. So obviously if you're forced to retire, you never get a chance to build that stuff up. It's if you have a handful of coins, handful of items, stuff like that now, and you're forced to retire, that's it. That's all you get for your retirement. And based on those things is what you then get, the benefits that your adventuring package has. So, like I was saying before, where they kind of moved away from the template aspect of things, it definitely changes how you retire. So like for me personally, Crow retired with quite the hefty amount of items and coin and everything like that. I've actually got it all in a bag, which is still in my car because I haven't had a chance to get together with Plot and staff and them to actually go over everything that I retired with. Crow retired not in hardships. Let's say that. And the fact that I've been playing this character since '99, and I've been a member of Mythic Realms for just about that long. I did take a break there in the middle, just as life gets crazy and everything like that. I took a little break there in the middle, but came back 5-6 years ago, something like that. Basically right at the end of the Pale War and everything. I came back, so.
50 is an understatement, Mr. Dragon Gold Man.
I mean, to be fair, I only had 5 Dragon Gold when I left.
Only 5 when most people rarely get 1.
Or I'd never even seen one until I saw.
Yeah, until
Nemesis.
last week. Like, that was rare. I mean, so.
Yeah, no, but again, it's that time commitment to it.
Yeah, he's just being humble, everyone. He's being extremely humble.
No, I'm just trying to be I'm not
Humble.
sure what word I want. Is it? Sure,
trying.
humble.
I'm guessing your axe is one of your items.
Yeah. So my axe is actually the reason that I have 2 deaths on my character sheet, or had 2 deaths on my character sheet, because now they've been reset. I've actually the first time for my death, it was giving a life to Maker to remake my physical person, to just become better at this and that, and to allow Maker to gleam a little bit off of every artifice thing that I created. So the second life was actually that in the reforging of my axe to bind it to myself, much like Boji did with his Hammer of Fall. So yeah, that's what it says. So the first one was to Maker to actually rebuild me, and then the second one was also to Maker to rebuild my axe and bind it to me, which actually gives it a very unique ability, where every logistics at the beginning of logistics, if I ever don't have my axe, if it's been stolen from me or whatever, it comes back to me. So
Nice.
yeah, a very, very unique property that we haven't seen in game for a very long time. But yeah, I was actually kind of glad when I saw that as one of the perks that it has, where it's like it is so bound to you that if it ever doesn't sense you at the beginning of the day, it just comes back to you. So
That is so cool. That is so cool. Yeah.
Still don't know if that works with my hammer, Nevitz says.
if what works with your hammer?
The
Binding
it and coming back to you.
No, like it's specific on the item card that I have. So like when, of course you get your item cards and everything, specifically on my item card for my axe, it says at logistics, if you do not possess the axe, or if you do not physically have a hold of the axe, it makes its way back to you. So if your item card doesn't specifically say that, then it does not have that property.
That's great.
So
That's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
So I'm still looking forward to having the conversation with Gomez and Plot and staff and everything like that for exactly what my adventuring package is going to be. But I'm really kind of hoping that with everything that I retired with, that it'll be really nice. A couple of things with my retirement is 2 things that I specifically did just to kind of leave a legacy, as it were, with Crow. Is part of my retirement was actually to add on to Kane's retirement as well. So I actually took some of my retirement perks and gave them over to Kane, because me and Kane have been friends for a very, very long time. We suffered through the chronophage together, and the first time he became a vampire and everything like that, I was there for that. Like Crow was physically there. Travis and Mike were physically there together when all of that stuff went down. So being a weapon artificer and everything, I gave up some of my retirement, like money and stuff like that, to ensure that his retirement had things added to it. And because I'm a weapon artificer specifically, he got weapons added. So now Kane will always have this pair of daggers that Crow has made for him, and in-game Crow has invested in Cerelia enough to the right people that anytime Mike decides to play Kane, he will have these weapons. He's basically delivered these weapons on a regular basis so that he can always have those.
That is so cool.
The second thing that I did, we'll get to your question just a second, Nibbits. The second thing that I did is Crow and Kane have a house in town, the K2 Creations, and Crow has paid for out of my retirement has paid for that building to continue to be upkept for the next several years without anybody else having to pay for it.
That's cool.
As well as having 2 additional structures built in town
I thought I remember
just
that,
for anybody who needs to use them.
Wow.
So a couple of extra just little level 1 structures that are being built for town, as you know, with town being the owners of said structures for the next several years without anybody needing to pay for upkeep, as long as they're being used for new adventurers or adventurers that can't afford housing or anything like that, so they can stay safe.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Nevitz asks, can a retired character give away money or items?
So they highly discourage that. Now, if there is a particular in-game reason why you would be giving that stuff up, you can do it before you retire. Now, if you choose to just unload everything, it was actually a specific question that I had with all of staff and plot and everything, is with the new way that the adventuring packages are done, is there some kind of diminishing returns? You know, if I leave game with more than 50 gold, does that matter? You know, so if I've got 80 gold and the max benefits are at 50 gold, can I just blow and burn out the other 30 gold and just give it away and everything? And their response to that was, first off, no, there's not any specific diminishing returns. The more that you leave with, the more things you get in your package, and that's just flat out. So if nothing, it's, you know, if you leave with this amount of money or items or consumables or anything, all right, so you might come back in the game with armor and spell book and weapons and this, and if you just leave with more, you'll just come into game with more things. Going out of game as an artificer, I'm probably going to be allowed to come into game with just a handful of consumable things that I'm capable of creating. So, you know, it's like one of those things where it's like, so okay, so I come into game, boom, I bring 30, you know, magic sheen oils with me, but they're going to have like a 1 month expiration, so it doesn't just destroy the game.
Right.
Once you have officially retired, you cannot give any of your stuff away. It's once you are retired, once you hit your retirement module and it is finished, all of your stuff goes into a bag and that's it. Like it stays there, and that's where it is. So if you are going to give any of those things away, which I did a fair amount of, because I had some items, you know, manacles, stuff like that I'm not going to need for retirement, and you know, I just purchased several sets of manacles. I think I gave one to you. I think I gave one to Rin, and then I had 2 personally on my person. I mean, I gave the manacles away, and Plot was perfectly fine with me giving just manacles away, because they're like, that doesn't change your retirement, but of course.
I told you he gave me those manacles.
Yeah. But of course, you know, like magic items, you kind of have to get a little bit of approval for. So, you know, if I'm like, hey, I've got these magic items, and Crow has no reason to retire with these things, can I kind of hand them out? And I was given, you know, the yes and no on a couple of things. Of course, like legacy items, you can't give any of those away, because as soon as you give that item up, it destroys. It just blows up, or I guess disintegrates is the better term for it. But once you've actually retired, that's it. It's everything that you have goes into a bag, and that is what you retire with. You cannot pull anything from that bag. You cannot decide, well, okay, well, now, you know, it's been a week since I retired, I actually didn't want these things, so here I'm going to give. You can't do any of that kind of stuff. But anything that you've kind of pre-planned or pre-worked out with Plot that you want to give away, yeah, as long as they approve it.
So, go ahead. Do you have a question? I have. So here's my question for you specifically: is you don't have a new character set up, so why did you choose to retire? And what are the benefits of retiring? Like, why did you choose now if you don't have a character ready to go?
Honestly, it was kind of time. Like as far as Crow's story and everything like that, it came to a head, like, but before everything happened with Thalomir that kind of kickstarted what my retirement plot was. Everything before that, Crow had completed. So part of Crow's big backstory was his entire clan was killed by a group of people, an organization known as the Wyvern's Whip, and so his big seeking thing was to get revenge on the Wyvern's Whip. And I think it was a year ago, 2 years ago.
About a year.
I think it was about a year ago, maybe. Crow got the opportunity to track down the Wyvern's Whip sect that killed his people and got his revenge. Like, he walked in there and, with the rest of the adventurers of North Watch, destroyed them. Like, it was kind of a funny fight and everything. Like, there was actually supposed to be a big role play thing. It was Chris that was playing the big commander guy, and there was supposed to be this big role play thing and everything, and Crow walks in there and kind of points at him and yells his name and everything, and literally, like, as soon as that happens, everybody just rushed, like a scene from a movie or something. Like, Crow was just like, "It's you!" And before the actual, like, role play thing could start, everybody was just like, "Oh,
that's awesome."
and oh yeah, and just everybody just runs in, and Crow's just kind of standing there like, I guess we're fighting now. Oh, okay.
They got me back.
oh yeah. No, and again, it's those things you can never plan on, because when plot's kind of writing those things for somebody's personal plot or something like that, they're like, okay, we're gonna have you're gonna go through this, you're gonna encounter these things, and then you kind of have the big boss encounter at the end and everything, and they're like, okay, so this is gonna happen, and we're gonna do this and that and this, and they plan out all these things. But because you've got 30 people, that you can't account what people are going to do.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, especially that number, and with the diversity of people that we have for their personalities and stuff, you can't plan on what they're going to do. So as soon as we get up there and it's supposed to be this big role-play encounter where we're supposed to yell insults back and forth at each other, and it's supposed to be this big thing, and then suddenly everybody just chooses to just rush the field like madmen. It was entertaining at the fact that, again, just like reading a book or watching a movie or anything like that, where it's supposed to be this big epic scene at the end or something like that, or like Indiana Jones, it's supposed to have this big epic sword fight and everything, and the guy gets up there and he's twirling his sword, just and yelling at him, and he holds his sword out, and Indiana Jones just pulls his gun out and bang, and then just turns around, wipes you, and then walks away. You're just like, now, was that an epic scene, or was I robbed? Like, how does that work? But no, that was absolutely incredible. Once that finished, though, once that finally culminated and that story portion was finished, there wasn't a whole lot more for Crow. And even approaching plot and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, so like, what now? I've kind of gathered the things that I wanted to do. What more is there now? And plot just kind of looked at me and said, well, do you have anything specific in mind? And I was like, well, I'm chasing this, but that's about it. And they're like, okay, so that is more of a retirement type plot. So really, besides that, there's nothing more that we have planned for you. If you get any ideas, come to us and we'll see what we can work out. But as far as Crow's plot goes, we have fulfilled what we wanted to do. So I set myself 3 goals at character creation that I wanted to accomplish before retirement, and as soon as I had those 3 things, I was like, okay, retirement button, go, because it's all I had left.
So, K-Moth Arcane asks, are retirement big ordeals, or do they happen off screen?
They are big ordeals in game. Like, unless it is a specific thing where somebody's forced into retirement or something of that nature, even then, even for forced retirement, there's usually something pretty big that happens. Like with Storm, as an example, she unfortunately kind of got dragged off into the darkness and was killed, and it happened to be her fourth death.
Yeah.
And nobody knew that she had been dragged off or that she died or anything like that. So when they pulled her aside and they were like, yeah, it really sucks and everything, here, draw from the bag, and she drew the black marble, and they all went, oh, geez, okay, here's what happens now. She elected for forced retirement as well, and this big scene happened where the Stormfather, which is this big presence in Cerealia, the Stormfather created a big lightning storm, and this happens and that happens, and he basically gets super upset that the town let his child die. And so this big scene played out with the Stormfather and all that kind of stuff, which was again a really cool scene. And then Storm steps out from this big cacophony of lightning and everything, and basically goes, "Yeah, I'm leaving, guys.
Yeah.
Like I went through the circle, and this happened. The Stormfather showed me mercy, and with his extreme power has brought me back. But now I need to go with him." Everybody's retirement is a big ordeal. Like it is not a common everyday occurrence that somebody retires either elected or forced. It doesn't happen every event, doesn't happen every weekend. We've gone years at points where nobody's retired. So it's always a big ordeal. There's a lot of off-screen happenings that go into somebody's retirement, but the retirement itself is always a big thing. A big thing always happens in game.
Yeah, like probably this year there's been a lot of retirements this year though, but I would say the biggest ordeal that we had as a retirement was the entire Winterfest was Leaf's retirement. Like the whole event, which was like I guess the first night was his retirement, and then the next day wasn't. But still, that was a good 5-6 hours that was devoted just towards his retirement. So
so in a big overnight event where there's going to be hours and hours and hours of role play, several hours of that were dedicated specifically to one person's retirement. And like I said, over the August weekender, I had a full section of an entire module that was dedicated towards my retirement stuff of going to Nadrak's Planar Sanctum and releasing his power and everything. Like that was specifically cut off for me just to experience that. So
Zapata said it sounds like a comedy with that thing where everyone just charged.
Yeah, where everybody just charged. And it was too, like once it happened, like internally I was laughing so much because I knew what to expect, because if you have personal plot things happening, they usually pull you aside and say, hey, we've got some stuff going on, when you enter this area, you've got this effect happening with you specifically, or you recognize this person and you can react in this certain way and have this role play encounter. Go ahead and go do it however you see fit. And a lot of times it's when personal plot is happening, it's like a personal effect going on where, okay, so when you enter this next scene, when you enter this big room, there's going to be calls of like dazes or anything like that, but because you were feeling empowered and everything like that, you call no effect to these things. So where everybody else around you is like, oh, I can't see anything, and my head hurts and everything. You're like, no effect, and you're that heroic character for that scene. It can change really quick based on how other people react. And like I said, for that scene specifically, it really was kind of like the comedy where you see in like Monty Python or something like that, where they're all facing the castle right at the end, and they all go to charge it and everything like that, and then just for no reason, police cars just pull in and start arresting people.
Right.
So and that's really kind of how it was, where we're standing and we're facing each other, and it's this big epic scene of two foes who have had lifetimes of engagement and anger with each other facing off, and we're just pointing each other down and staring and just like, things are gonna happen, and everybody else just runs in to just take them out. It was one of those things, but it also kind of takes the form of how much people support you. it's as soon as that scene happens and we're surrounded by all these enemies and we're faced with the big bad guy and everything like that, and it's not, people didn't rush in because they were, turn off your pocket fairy.
Yeah, it's going nuts all of a sudden. Like, normally it's just one thing. It's usually someone telling me something about the stream, but right now it's just going nuts because people are going live, and it's...
But it really shows the dedication that people have towards the relationships they create over the course of being in game with these characters. So it wasn't they were all rushing in because they were trying to ruin the scene, or that they were trying to make a joke of it or anything. They all ran in because I was like, that's the dude I'm here to kill, and they're just like,
all right,
done.
Let's kill him.
And they all go running in because I was like, that's the guy I'm here to kill. And so they just went for it. They're just like, that's who we're here to kill, done.
Yep.
Like, it's Crow says kill that person, we kill this person.
Yep.
And so that's why they ran in. So
Yeah, it was pretty good.
To be fair, there are a lot of moments that are kind of comedic. So.
Oh yeah, it's well, and I think that's one of the great things about a LARP in particular, is because in a desktop or a tabletop role playing game, everything is just kind of hammered out. Some of the things feel kind of forced and stuff like that, where you're like, we're gonna have a funny scene now. In a LARP, because you have so many different people with so many different personalities, everything just happens naturally. It's like hanging out with a group of friends and somebody just cracks off with some joke or does something, and everybody just kind of looks at that person and then just starts busting up. They just start cracking up because it's just so funny, because it was just so off the wall. But in the LARP, it happens in-game. Everybody is in character when that happens. So, people telling jokes and stuff like that, they specifically adapt their jokes to fit the world or to fit in character. So, people aren't telling jokes about cars and phones and, stuff like that.
If you're talking about a movie, you're talking about, that play that I saw
Right.
last time I was in the Citadel.
And as far as play goes, talking about the Parthens again, part of their whole big thing with raising money to pay their fine and everything was to put on this huge production play of how the sheriff was so cruel and didn't appreciate them and didn't give them any leeway or anything like that.
So good.
And the way that they did it is they adapted the story of Romeo and Juliet and totally made it in game for how the sheriff was the bad guy, and how they were just trying to live their lives, and they were the loves of the town, and all this kind of stuff. And it was hilarious, the fact that people can just kind of come up with that stuff. And it took them like an hour.
Yeah,
they went back to their camp, so everything happened where they were fined, and they continued to commit some crimes to try to steal the money to pay for their fines and everything. They were caught again, and total they were caught I think 3 times, specifically with their hand in somebody's pocket trying to steal the money. Yep. And so their fine kept going up and everything, where it was like, okay, well, we can't sentence you to death, like stealing is not a punishable crime by death, so your fine keeps tacking on. So their fine just kept getting higher and higher and higher, and eventually got up to like 2 gold apiece is what they owe. So they're quite desperate at this point, and they head back to their camps and just decide, what, we're going to do this at dinner. We're totally going to put on this performance, and have a collection bucket and everything like that. And we're going to put on this big performance, and this is going to be kind of our epic moment. And it totally worked. Like they pulled it off so well.
Good. It was so good. And as Lita is like totally annoyed with the entire thing. But I'm standing off to the side going,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
See, Joey was annoyed.
Hard to stay in character.
Oh, yeah. Joey was annoyed with the whole thing, too. And they came to me money, and I'm like, you tried to steal from me. You think I'm going to give you money? I was like, no, go somewhere else. But internally, I was like, that was the best thing I've seen in a long time.
Good.
Well, and even as Crow, as soon as they started going off on the whole thing where, like, the sheriff was the bad guy and everything, like, as Crow, I stood up and I'm just like, really? All right, let's see where this is going.
Yeah.
And they went off the whole thing, and I just kind of went,
Okay.
all right. And so I pulled out I gave him 2 silver. I'm like, I'm the one that had to specifically charge you with the crime, and specifically
Was made fun of.
Yeah, it's like I was the one that charged you with the crime. I was the one that fined you as much as you're being fined. And now you're going off and doing this and making fun of me and everything like that, which technically, as a person in a position like sheriff, insulting that person can be an arrestable offense and everything as well. But instead, like, even as Crow, I was just like, I've got to respect what they're trying to do. So even though, all right, so yeah, I'm the one that fined you. Here's money to pay that fine.
Did they ever give you any money from that performance?
Money to me?
Yeah.
No.
No, did they pay the fine?
No, because their fine got up to 2 gold apiece.
I know, but they could have been like, here's the start,
No.
but they just kept it all.
You would, I mean, they kept it all, and they were told, hey, you've got until this date to pay it all, or, I mean, it's your head.
Yeah, Nevitz is talking about, so we call cell phones pocket fairies in game, and that's another thing that's like an in-game joke. Like, it's just the term that we refer to them as. But like, another thing that's kind of comedic specifically is Frank's character. He calls everyone by their wrong name intentionally, and that's it's a subtle thing, but it's still humorous, especially over this last weekender, because for some reason he got called upon to vouch for my character. And he walks up and he goes, "Oh yeah, Jeffrey Crush," and the guy has no sense of humor and is like, "Are we talking about the same guy?" He's like, "Oh yeah, that's just like everyone else had to explain that he's terrible with names." And in all honesty, when you look back on retrospect, that's quite hilarious.
Oh my gosh, it is so funny. Actually, Lita, so his character's name is Fruian.
Yeah.
And Lita calls him Freudian because, I mean, if he's going to get everyone else's names wrong, he gets it right back.
It's Crow kind of started doing the same thing for a little while too, where like as soon as Crow realized that like he doesn't get everybody's name right, so like Fruian calls Crow Raven.
Yeah.
And like every time he would say that, I'd be like, so like, I mean, my name's not Crow, like my full name's Krowthus, right? Like, so it has nothing to do with the bird, and it's even spelled with a K. And he was just like,
okay.
But after Crow actually realized what was going on there, and that Fruian just didn't get anybody's name right or anything, I started calling him Fruit Loops.
So, Kamoth Arcana asks, is 4 gold a lot? Yeah, it kind of is, depending on who you are. If you're like an artisan that makes stuff, 4 gold, not really that much, because you're going to get it all the time. But like for a regular adventurer, 4 gold is a lot. Like, I had to pay, how much was my weapon in February? Like 3 gold?
Something like that, yeah.
So I barely, over like a year and a half, earned 3 gold to pay for my weapon in February. I barely earned another like 2.5 gold to buy a special suit of armor over in August. So and I played pretty much every single session in between there.
How much did I pay you for that sword, Crow?
So just to give you an idea how long it takes to get that kind of money,
A lot.
I mean, that tells you how much that money is. So
to kind of put it in perspective and everything, when you start a character, you get 10 copper to start. Through the standard adventure, you'll make about 2-ish silver, anywhere between about 1.5 and 2 silver, and everything is on a 20-to-1 exchange rate. So it's 20 copper. You guys went over this before. 20 copper to 1 silver, 20 silver to 1 gold.
Yeah.
So with the expenses of like buying in-game items and things like that, it can take a person a year to make a couple of gold.
Yeah.
So if you take into account the fact that your average person is going to make about 2 to 3 gold per year, 4 gold is a lot of money. So if you're paying 4 gold for a single thing, then you're dedicating a year and a half of adventuring to buy that one item.
So here's the question that I warned you would happen. What is your favorite LARP memory?
Oh, yeah. See, now that's going to be a thing. So, unfortunately, like, I've been playing this character for so long. I have so many memories that just stand out that, I don't know, it's hard to choose one that is a favorite.
Let's see.
Oh,
I'm not supposed to tell him.
You're not supposed to warn me. You're not supposed to warn me.
I'm not supposed to tell him I'm going to ask that. Well, he's been playing for a long time, and it's hard for people to come up with that answer, so I give him warning so there's not dead silence.
Warning.
Well, and again, it's I don't know if I particularly have a favorite memory, just because I've seen so many things in game and experienced so much that it's hard for me to depict one as a favorite. So I don't know if I have a favorite memory as much as just rare memories in game. Just because I've been doing it for so long and everything, there's been very few people who have faced like a full dragon before, like actually encountered a full dragon and fought it in game. And so I guess one of my deepest memories of Mythic is we were all adventuring and we came across a cavern that was supposed to be empty, but a dragon had made its home there.
Wow.
And so the kind of big encounter of the module was to actually face a full dragon.
Whew.
And to do so, the dragon was played by 7 NPCs, I think it was, because you had one person was playing as the mouth of the dragon and literally just had a bucket of spell packets and would just handfuls, like they weren't counting. It wasn't like your standard mass packet now where it's specifically up to 10 packets or anything.
Right.
They would just gather up as much as they can and just throw it down this big hallway that we were in. It's back when Castle of Chaos was up on Highland Drive.
Oh yeah.
So years and years and years ago. One of my favorite places to play, and I'm really sad that it doesn't exist anymore.
Hey Zigguratty, how you doing?
Welcome in.
I know who that is.
Well, I would assume so.
It's for my D&D group, so
Oh, well, there you go.
I'm surprised they're here.
But then you had 2 people were playing the front claws, 2 people were playing the wings, 1 person was playing the tail. Like, I mean, it was this big ordeal and everything like that. And there was a special rule in place for fighting the dragon and everything like that, where every time you saw the dragon, you would suffer a fear effect.
Oh wow.
So we would have to do all kinds of things to make ourselves immune to fear and stuff, to even approach it and get close to it to fight it or anything like that, because it literally every time you came around the corner or you looked at it or anything, you'd immediately suffer a fear effect. So they were at the time, it wasn't called heroism, it was something else, but we were tossing those around like candy, and everybody was drinking potions to make themselves immune to it, and it was this big ordeal. But there was another special rule in place where normally if there's a mass packet thing that happens, if you're hit by any of the packets, you take the effect. So, if you're hit by one of them, you take the effect. If you're hit by all 10 of them, you just take one of the effect. Specifically for the dragon fight, every packet counted. So they would take just this big handful of packets and just chuck them down. And if you were hit by 7 of the packets, it was as if you were affected 7 times by the thing. So it was this huge big fight and everything like that. And it sticks out the most in my memory because when I came back, back a couple of years ago and everything, you got a new neighbor.
Oh. K-Moth. I didn't even see it. I was paying so much attention to you. So thank you for that, K-Moth Arcane. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Hi, neighbor.
Hi, neighbor.
And thanks for the support and love, Zigguratty.
But yeah, it sticks out the most, I think, personally for me, just because when I came back, the plot team remembered it. So, they remembered, oh yeah, back then, you were this character and you did this thing, and they actually made it a part of my story coming back. So after that fight happened and everything like that, we all left. Like, we were sent there specifically to get some of the dragon's blood, some of the scales, stuff like that from the dragon. Once we all left and everything like that, years and years later. So, this happened probably 2000, 2001, something like that. So a long, long time ago. And so coming back like 2014, so we're talking 12, 13 years later, they still remember, it was such an epic event that the plot team still remembered it for those who were there. And they continued to make it a part of my story when I came back and made it so like I had these visions and everything like that. And after that fight happened, the dragon shed its skin, and it turns out that it was actually like a Draco Lich the whole time.
Oh, wow.
So it was just in disguise. It shed its skin, and the bones stood up and kind of shook, looked at me having the vision, kind of the classic like Game of Thrones thing where Bran's having the vision of the Night King, and the Night King kind of looks over at him and is like, wait a minute. And so the dragon like specifically looks over at me, thanks me, and then tears a portal open and steps into it. And it was one of those situations where it's like, because that happened so long ago and everything, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I totally remember this fight and everything that happened. And what? Wait, you're welcome, and now you're gone. Oh, this is gonna be bad. So that's as far as like a favorite memory or something. That one's got to be one of my top memories, just because again, going back to plot was so good about remembering all those little details about things that happened with a character, even 18 years ago now.
Yeah,
that
so cool.
They continue to make that a part of your story and a part of what defined you. Because I don't think there's anyone else that is still around or was still around character-wise. There were still some of the players around, but character-wise, I was the only one left of that. Like, even Kane at that point, Kane wasn't even around or anything like that. He was playing a different character, so Kane wasn't involved in that fight or anything like that. So it was literally just me was the only one that had any connection to that. And they're like, hey, since you're still around and you had a connection to that, here it is again. And it played completely into my retirement as well. Like as everything moved on and continued, part of gaining favor with the dragons and everything like that was actually finding that dragon again and doing something for them.
See, I NPC'd back then, I didn't NPC that session specifically, but I've been playing since like 01, 02 also, but I NPC'd for a long time, and then I got away from the game too, but I wasn't there for that one though.
Yeah, that was an incredible thing, and ever since then I've been asking them if we're ever going to have an encounter like that again, and they keep kind of giving me the maybe we'll do something like that, but I've never seen anything like it since then.
Yeah.
Where you've got 7, 8, 9 NPCs playing one creature that is just this one massive thing, and it's so powerful to the point where it actually has to have special rules that break the normal rules of the game, just because they're just so incredibly powerful.
We've done sessions where we've had at least 3 or 4 people play a boss, but I've never seen it and they're tied together by orange rope or something to limit their movement to make it more realistic.
So in this one, they were not limited.
Wow.
So yeah, it's normally for something like that, if it's a creature with multiple arms or something, they're bound together because it's like your arm can only go this far away from you or whatever. No, but because it was this big cavernous area with a dragon in it, they're just like, no, we don't like the dragon can just reach out there and get you. It doesn't matter how far away you are. So they were not tethered together or anything like that.
That's crazy. That is super crazy. So
there were a couple of specific things, like the tail could only attack if you were behind it. So, the tail couldn't wrap all the way around. The tail had, like, a specific, you can only come up to here, but they weren't tethered together.
Right. That
so,
is so cool.
Back to retirement, what are the benefits for a new character if you've retired?
So after you retired, so I was kind of saying before where with your money, you had a couple of options before.
We had a behemoth that was made up of 6 NPCs.
Yeah, that one was a pretty good one. But with so those couple of options I said before, one of your options was to just liquidate all your assets. Your next character gets 20% to start, rather than say the 10 copper that they start with. You get 20% of whatever you retired with. The other option was to keep all of your money, and then every time you came into game for your 4 events, you would get 10%. And it would just kind of in-game reflect the investments and stuff that you made into certain things. You would just get that amount. Well, because for some people, so like with Crow retired with 110 gold. So I mean, I'll just put that out there. Crow retired with 110 gold, not including the dragon gold. So that's 5 dragon gold plus 110 gold plus all my items and consumables and components and everything. Dang. So just coin wise, Crow retired with 106 gold pieces, and then all the other money, his silver and gems and stuff like that, it equaled another 4 gold. So Crow retired with 110 gold. That would mean that 4 times a year I would come into game, they would just hand me 11 gold. Because there were a few people that did this, it was it tended to break the economics of game a little bit, because some of the people who retired like that would come into game and they'd have their handful of gold or whatever, and would literally just come in, sit at the tavern and go, have fun guys, and then leave. And so they're like, we've got to put an end to this, because this is hurting the economy. Like we're having all these people come into game and just plopping down all this money for nothing other than the fact that they were a retired character. So this is really hurting games. So now they're reverting that a little bit. And I think you still have the option to liquidate some of your money to come into game with your next character having more money, but that directly takes away from your adventure package. So if you're like, hey, I retired with 110 gold and I want to just liquidate off 50 of that gold so that my next character comes in with like 10 gold or whatever, that directly takes away from Crow's retirement package, which is going to be, since Crow's kind of going for the whole dragon-blooded thing, it would directly take away from my ability to use dragon abilities, my items that I come into game with, everything like that. So with that, are there some questions there?
Yeah, we've got a few. So the first question is from Ziggurat. He says, I've never LARPed before and having a really difficult time imagining this. Is there any recording of your session that you guys have done? There are recordings. I currently don't really have access to any of them. I could try
to the website.
I know on the Facebook page there's a video of us just like messing around.
Yeah, but on the website, mythicrealms.com,
is there actual?
There's videos up there. YouTube videos.
Yeah, okay. There's a couple of videos.
So while we looked that up, the other question was, and you'll have to apologize for backtracking because we love the questions. He asked, or they asked, you talked about those fur
Goofy
creatures. Are there any successful evil characters, assassins, murderers, thieves, witches, etc.? So there is an assassin in town right now. I don't know that I'd necessarily call him evil. He does do necromancy occasionally, which isn't really allowed.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of people that like break the law in town. Whether or not they're actually evil is subject to definition.
Leaf now is technically evil because he's a stinking demon.
Well, but that was his retirement.
Yeah.
So as far as like active characters in game, I will say, because Travis has a little bit of knowledge, because I've talked to a lot of people out of game and stuff like that. Yes, there are some evil characters in town, whether they're thieves or assassins or necromancers or things like that. Yes, there are absolutely evil characters in game, but they are very intelligent about the moves that they make, the way that they interact with other people and stuff like that. I won't go into any details because I don't want anybody who plays the game to gleam or know suddenly things that they shouldn't know. But yes, absolutely, there are a variety of people. There are everywhere. I mean, if we're going to put it in, say, D&D terms, there are literally everything from lawful good to chaotic evil And kind of as the epitome of evil, there are lots of neutral. Well, not a lot. There are definitely a couple of the neutral evil people in game where they're just evil just to be evil.
Yeah.
Not specifically governed by any set of laws like demons or anything like that, and not specifically chaotic because they're very intelligent about it.
Yeah.
So Nevin says Leaf was a successful evil character. I think I kind of have to agree with that statement a little bit.
It depends on if you believe that Leaf had his goal to become a demon the whole time.
Not even that, just some of his actions were very evil to begin with, but he did do things that to kind of throw a cog in there that made you think, like he did a few selfless acts where you're like, well, what is up with this guy? But
Leaf was one of those characters who always had the overall the job needs to get done mentality. And whether that meant he had to follow the laws or not meant the job got done. The way that Leaf tired specifically is, Leaf was always a power seeker. He was always somebody who, if power was presented to him, hey, do this thing, you become more powerful. He'd be like, well, that's a little bit illegal, or hey, people aren't gonna, go with me on this decision. But okay, it makes me more powerful because he was part of one of the in-game organizations known as the Ashen Cloth, who hunt and stop abyssal powers from getting to Cerealia. So anytime that there's demons or fiends or imps or anything like that, they would be right on top of it. They specifically tracked it. They would specifically fight it. They need to be powerful people because those are powerful creatures. When it came to Leaf's retirement specifically, he was given the option, hey, trap this power away or take the power. And because it was Leaf, he was like, oh, I get an option to gain more power?
Yeah.
I take that option.
Yeah.
So where that was not necessarily an evil thought per se, it was just as Leaf has always been, he was presented with an option to get power or to stow the power away, so he took it. It just so happens by taking the power, he became a demon. He became the thing that he sought to destroy.
Yep.
So, and again, it's just kind of the classic story trope. It's you die a hero or you live long enough to become the villain. And it's absolutely the case for him. He sought it out, he fought it, he battled to the end, and then he became what he sought to destroy.
Yeah, it was a pretty epic Winterfest.
Yeah.
It was an awesome retirement for him.
Zigguratty says he's talking about 9 dudes tied together with ropes trying to act as a boss. I don't know what videos are on the website, so I can't really answer. I know that there's one from many years ago where they recorded like bunches of this of like the whole session and they clipped it out, so there's videos of that where it shows the fighting and stuff, but there was no large monsters in that one, I don't recall. But that
You can always go to YouTube and just search LARP, and there's lots of people out there that have done body cams or have had professional people come out and film their LARPs and stuff. So, and every LARP's going to be a little bit different. You get far more dramatic, in-depth costuming and props in European LARPs than you do in American LARPs for the most part.
Especially like some of the like the steampunk or the post-apocalyptic stuff. I've seen some of those, and they actually they go out to these big factory ruins and stuff to where they get specific permission from the state, from the government to actually go out to these ruins and do it and everything. And some of those you look at and you're like, whoa, this is incredible.
So cool. Yeah. So YouTube's a great resource if you want to see what LARP looks like.
Or, since I know that you're local, you can always stop by a Wednesday night and just hang out and watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are totally okay with that.
So the big battles where you have several NPCs tied together, that's a fairly rare occurrence. That's for
super rare.
Yeah, that's for the big, holy cow boss, or something that an individual has been seeking out for a while. So they're pretty far and few between, but they happen. So if you just happen to catch the right event at the right time, yeah, absolutely.
I have a feeling that we're going to have one of those when I go for the Shield of Spring. I wouldn't doubt it. Well, we were specifically told that we have to go through a Groot Slain gauntlet, and a Groot Slain is a creature that eats behemoths for lunch.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, and that's why I'm like, why did Crow leave? I have to go fight this. I don't want to do
Yeah,
this.
sorry, Lita's not coming.
I need Lita though. Like I want to make
It's a thing that might kill us. I don't think I'll be.
Yeah, like
I think I'm gonna go take a walk around Kuval for a little while.
yeah. So
I'm pretty sure I'll be taking a nap for that one.
So I'm gonna have to get volunteers, and I'm gonna be totally upfront though, like with what we're doing, and I don't know that I'll get enough, but
I think you will. I mean,
I wanted to
Lita's
take all
a
my
little bit of
bonds.
an exception because
Yeah, I know
she's
what you're-
Lita's in a
death.
dangerous spot. So
Right.
if she dies helping somebody out, it means a little bit more than if somebody else dies while helping you out. So
oh yeah.
Right.
I wanted to take all my bonds, but that does make sense not to take you. So especially with something that scary, and we might end up doing it multiple times because there's one seed through each gauntlet, and
There's
there's
it's gonna be
multiple
rough.
armaments, and it's like we could knock all the armaments out in one trip. Like we could get the seed for each armament, and then
not in one trip.
well.
I don't think if the entire town went together, they wouldn't have the resources to do them all. in one
So
trip.
supposedly only one of them has a Groot Lane at the end. Supposedly.
Well, yeah, but imagine. But if
I know.
if that's the thing that's going to be at the end, imagine everything else that you're going to have to go through to get there.
yeah.
You're not going to have the
Yeah.
resources to do. Like you'll be hard pressed to do that one.
Yeah,
So,
I don't
and
think
that's
there's
the
going to
whole
be
point
any
behind it.
demons there giving out rebirths for a White Knight soul.
No, I don't know. I need to get the plot on that rolling, but yeah, I need to send a pigeon to the druid and be like, give me a date and when we're gonna go there, and then I'll have to start recruiting people because that's essentially where I'm at.
All right.
And
Well,
I'm
then let's
terrified.
do it.
Well, and again, it's that personal plot stuff that could lead up to your retirement stuff. You know, if your idea is to get that shield and then to seek out your legendary warden training and stuff and just become that beacon of hope for everyone, as it were. Like, I mean, if you plan on retiring Jovi anytime soon,
No.
But I'm just saying, I mean, on the course of retirement and stuff like that, it could be an excellent way for you to continue.
So he posted a link in the Quest for the Forge. Yeah, that's the one I was talking about.
Right.
So that one shows us fighting other NPCs and stuff like that. And that was one of my first PCing sessions where that's the one where I learned about the Shield of Spring. So that's kind of a good one. But yeah, for my retirement, I know where I'm going with my retirement. And so I'm going to have to tell them that this is what I would like to do for my retirement. So we're going to kind of have to slow that plot down. So
Yeah.
but I'm going to hopefully make it so that I retire after restoring my kingdom to its former glory. So,
Oh, yeah. No, that's a beautiful route to go, too.
yeah, and that's kind of where I want to go. And we've now discovered it. We've now kind of learned about our ancestry through the totem. So now I kind of need to be I want to pursue this, but I want it to be my retirement. So I don't want to retire anytime soon. So that lets you guys know to start kind of slowing down when I gain advancements on this plot. So
Sure. Well, but again, it's as soon as you approach plot with something like that, though, the question is going to be, what do you have in mind for Jovi's retirement? Like, are you looking at 2025
that's
as
true.
retirement? Or, like how much? Because as soon as you have that idea in place, there might not be much more that you do as far as personal plot goes.
Yeah.
And until you tell them, I'm ready to pursue this, there might not be a whole lot more that Jovi gets to do. If Lita plans her retirement or something like that, there might not be a whole lot more that specifically happens with you until you're like, hey, I'm ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah, see, that's Boji's biggest thing, is that he's waiting to retire at the same time as I do, since we're brothers, and that's kind of like our goal. So he's going to be playing for quite a bit longer because he's waiting on my butt. So
but there are some benefits additionally to retirement. So going back to your question before, excuse me, once a character has retired, so once you have a retired character under your belt, it not only frees up that PC slot, so you're only able to have 3 active PCs at any one time. Yeah, like in Mythic Realms, you can only have 3 active PCs, player characters, that you have total. When you retire a character, you get to continue to play that character for your 4 events, but it doesn't take up one of your character slots anymore. So you can choose a new character. After you retire a character, you gain additional skill points towards any new character that you play, up to the amount that you retired that character with. So like with Crow retired just above, I think, 1,300 skill points or something like that. So I will get double the amount of skill points towards any new character until that new character hits the same point total that Crow was when Crow retired. So that can help kind of bridge the frustration, because when you start, you only start as a 20-point character, and if I've been playing for so long at 1,000+ point character, I'm used to that power level, I'm used to having those skills or those amount of abilities, so it kind of helps bridge that gap of frustration when you start playing a new character and they're way down here. You kind of advance a little bit quicker. You still have to advance normally, you just advance a little bit quicker to get to that point again, so that there isn't as much frustration just being like, oh, I'm just the low man on the totem pole again. I can't do anything after playing a character who was so powerful for so long.
Especially for Crow. So Kavarth Arcana, that's a very good question. So, and I think I know the answer, but I wasn't there. So they ask, you just mentioned about waiting for other characters to retire. Does that mean that there are group retirements, or is it individual retirements that happen at the same time?
So either. So it's you can do anything you want as far as retirements go. We actually a few years ago had an entire group of people. We mentioned it before, the Garadetskis.
That's what I was wondering.
Which was a whole troop of gypsies. I think they had 7 of them total.
Yeah, something like that.
And their big retirement thing was the savior or destruction of an entire city. And so all of them kind of banded together as their troop of people to either save the city and die themselves, or it was actually put on the PCs to rescue them to make sure that those characters didn't die and the city was destroyed. Once we found out about it, we as the players took steps on our side to evacuate the town and everything like that. So once all that went down, we went through the steps to actually save the characters, because even if the town was destroyed, no people were going to be harmed doing it, because that was going to be the big thing, is the town was going to be destroyed and hundreds if not thousands of people were going to die. And so all of the Garadetskis were perfectly willing to sacrifice themselves to make sure that the city and all of its people survived. When we found out about this, we took our steps to save all the people. And once that was all done, we elected as players in the heat of the moment. Like, we were literally given the, okay, if you want to do this, we need 10 people to stand around this circle, and everybody puts their hand in one of these spots. And if that happens, you save the characters, you save the Garadetskis, but the town is destroyed. And it came down to the wire where it was literally ticking down. Again, we talk about a lot of classic tropes and stuff like that, where it's, the timer starts counting on 10, 9, 8, and it gets down and it's like 3, 2, and we all slap our hands down, because it was like at the 6-second mark, we finally get the message of the town's been evacuated. And we're like, oh, good. And yeah, we effectively saved them, and we watched all the magic, blow up and everything like that, and the town was destroyed.
But all the people were saved.
But we were able to, on our side, it had nothing to do with their retirement. It's Like, we were entirely given the choice. This is happening. The Garadetskis have gone to do this thing. This town will be destroyed, or they're going to sacrifice themselves and it won't be destroyed. So we took it upon ourselves to do everything else in the background, and eventually it, came down to the end of it, and we saved them. So they retired as a group.
Okay. He typed in Beto, and I was like, what? And he said Hail, so he must have had an autocorrect. Hail, Lodestar.
Eats a lot of burritos.
Yeah, he does.
But yeah, so they had that big story arc right there was their retirement as a group. They came into game as just a bunch of friends who were playing this family of gypsies, and they all retired at the same time. So yeah, if you want to retire as a whole group of people, if you want to retire, as brothers, for Jovi and Boji, if they want to retire together, that's perfectly fine. I retired just individually, just by myself. My retirement involved nobody else but just me. That's just entirely up to you. Even to the point where if you come into game as an individual and you make ties with somebody else, you can absolutely plan on retiring with that other person. Even if they're a complete stranger, you meet them in game for the first time and you just hit it off and make that connection. You both can just decide, hey, we hit it off. We're going to do this stuff together. We're friends in game now, and we're going to retire together.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, though, that after they retired, they all had their own separate retirement stories, like what they did after retirement. So they're not all together now.
They are. They're all in Ismay.
Well, like Sonya's in Kuval, with
even Sonya's in Ismay. Oh. She visits Kuval to talk with the First Guardian and help and everything like that. And yes, each individual kind of has their thing that they do. Yuri went off to do the whole Dread Pirate thing. Anton went off to do his spells thing. Whatever it is he's doing. Nikolai has attachments to the House of Cards. Stuff like that. So each of them have their own individual thing that they're doing, but they all retired together as a group.
Okay. So yeah, that clears up things for me too,
yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. One of these days, I'd like to come on with a big group like that.
Yeah,
it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's always people looking to come in as a group. Sometimes it is a little bit easier to come in as a group, but can also be a little bit taxing, because you look at the newest group of people that we had come into town was all the Dark Star people, and it's very difficult because if you're in a certain position where you don't have another character other than that one to play, but the other ones have primary characters that they're playing, you want to come in as your Dark Star person, but everybody else wants to come in as their other ones. It makes it difficult to roleplay as a group when you're there just by yourself, or when there's only one or two of you, when you need this group of six people to really make decisions and everything. And that can get a little frustrating or be a little daunting. So it just
and then
kind of
getting
depends.
People to be there all the time. I think that's another one that I
think another downside of it too is that in some instances it might prevent people from making those other social connections, because they've already got these 6 characters that they've already got this bond with, and they feel like they don't need to socialize with anybody else. Like I know in the beginning, because I had Boji, I didn't talk to a lot of other people because I was kind of shy. Like it took me a while, but I finally was like, no, I need to start talking to other people. So it has its benefits, but it also, I think, can have some drawbacks to it. So
and on the opposite side, it can kind of drive you to that as well, because you take Zyra. Zyra came in with the Dark Star, kind of as their accountant, their financial person, as it were, and she came in, and the person playing Zyra wants to play Zyra more often, but the rest of the Dark Star people aren't there nearly as often. So she just took it upon herself to make other connections in town and stuff like that, so she can enjoy playing Zyra without the rest of them there and be perfectly happy with that. But when they are there, she dedicates completely to them.
Yep.
So it's that kind of separation of okay, well, if they're here, wonderful. We're gonna have this awesome, role play. You guys were talking before about like the structures and the big structure that they have together and everything like that. And that's where they are. You can find them in their little war council room, and they're having fantastic role play and doing all kinds of really cool stuff. But even when they aren't there, Zyra makes an effort to connect with everyone else and have that place that she has when they're not there, and then she has a certain place when they are there. So
she definitely has a place when they're not there.
And that has been talking with people about creating a new character after retirement and everything like that. I've had a few people who have recommended or have offered, hey, how about we come in together, as a group of people, or you come in and you attach to the existing players the existing characters that we have and stuff like that. So it's all things to consider when creating a character. Is you don't ever have to go it alone. It's a lot of people I think will come into game, or they'll perceive game, if you're an individual who wants to come in and do LARP, you don't have to go it alone. You don't have to come in and be that shy lone wolf that sits in the background. You don't have to be the person that sits in the corner of the tavern and just doesn't talk to anybody, but then gets out and does the adventures with people and stuff like that. No, it's you can come in, and even if you know nobody coming in, that I'm talking about the players, not even the characters, but if you know none of the players, understand that we are a full community of people. We don't ever reject anyone. We don't ever, tell anybody that they can't have fun in their own way. If you want to come in and you want to be that villainous character, you want to be the evil character, you want to be the super good paladin type character, or anything in between, we encourage you to do it. So if you want to come in, you will find somebody that you can connect to, and you will find somebody who you are friends with.
Amy Mama says you and I should go in together.
If that's you saying that you're actually going to try it out,
Heck
maybe.
Yeah, man. Let's see. Nevitz says that's exactly why Boji leaves Jovi a lot, is to encourage him to talk and make his own connections with other PCs. And Zabata says evil character. That sounds right for me.
Yeah, like I said, as long as you're smart while doing it, there are plenty of rules in game that let you be anything you want to be. So if you want to come in and you want to be the big berserker character that gets in there and they are the glass cannon to get in there and just destroy things, but then you kind of fall down and rely on other people, you can do that. If you want to be the uber good character who yells at everybody for literally everything, we have those people in game. If you want to come in as the necromancer who secretly goes and does these things that are against the law and stuff like that, you are perfectly allowed to do so. You won't last for very long if you make it known, but
right. And I think
absolutely.
That's one of the key things, because we have had some players come in and try and be that sneaky, thievery, evil, and their characters got ran out real quick because they weren't good at hiding it.
Oh yeah, to the point where we've had the characters who come in and they do the whole thing where they steal from other people, and it was found out that they were stealing from other people in the town, and so the assassins in town took it upon themselves to go and assassinate the person, even though it's completely illegal, and where the assassins weren't necessarily evil by themselves or sought to break the law, they would, because of that instance, sought that person out and assassinated them.
So let's see. Zabata says absolutely the rogue type. Now the thing is that you don't have to be evil to be a rogue. Like a perfect example is what's her character name? Hold on, she's one of my bombs too. Rin. Rin is a rogue type, but she's not evil. In fact, she's one of the most upstanding characters I think in the characters in the community. She does strive for good, so she's still roguey. She still sneaks around. She likes to scout ahead for us a lot, but she doesn't steal from, at least that we've caught, from members of the party, and she doesn't act like she wants to steal from members of the party. So she's still roguey, but she's not evil. That's not to say that you can't do roguey and do evil too, but it's not like it doesn't. The one doesn't immediately denote the other. Let's see. Nevitt says you can be a rogue. Oh yeah, see, without screwing over other PCs like we just talked. Yeah, so.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's with there only being 4 archetypes in Mythic Realms. You can either be the fighter, the rogue, the arcanist, or the mystic spellcaster. You kind of have to really adopt what you're going to be based off those 4 archetypes. So if you're the fighter, you don't have to be the standard sword and board fighter that stands in the front row. You can absolutely be the fighter that fights from the back. You can be the fighter class that only works with a bow. We've got a couple of people like Simon. Simon,
he's a full fighter.
Yeah, he is absolutely the fighter person, but he only ever fights with a crossbow.
We have a black knight who only uses a bow or a crossbow.
Yep.
That throws some people for a loop.
So what you're saying is the person playing an evil character has to be fairly intelligent to make it as an evil character. So there aren't systems in place to go beyond your own martial and physical abilities to get away with things that are... Oh, and mental? Your own mental and physical limitations to get away with things that are not acceptable.
So that's what really kind of defines a LARP. So unlike the tabletop role-playing and stuff where you can be that character and you can just say, hey, I do this to kind of obfuscate myself or to prevent the other players from knowing, in a LARP you are a little bit restricted by what you can do. It's if you try to lurk in the shadows, there are a couple of in-game things that you can do. You can pick up the spell invisibility and stuff like that to hide a little bit better. But if you want to just lurk in the shadows and you are physically not capable of hiding yourself in the shadows,
Or being quiet.
or being quiet, as a large individual, I can't go stomping through the weeds without making a whole bunch of noise. It restricts me for that specifically. And yes, where there is like the hide skill where I can hunker down and kind of cover 30% of my body with the existing foliage and stuff like that and put a blue headband on and say, hey, I'm hidden. If I then have the ability to what's called hidden dash, which is every 10 seconds I can take 3 steps, if I'm not quiet about that, if I go stomping through and I'm snapping twigs and stuff like that, other people can absolutely hear that. So that's what really kind of defines a LARP is you have to be physically engaged with what you're doing. So you can't just say, hey, I've got a high dexterity skill so I can do a backflip. In a LARP, if you can't do a backflip, you can't do a backflip.
But there are systems in place for combat that can make up for your physical abilities, like we were discussing, like parry and dodge and stuff like that. So like if I physically don't block that blow, I have a backup skill called parry that I can call, which does kind of represent the fact that we know that even though you're a hero character, you may not be able to physically do all these things, so you can call parry and then not take the damage from that attack. So I would say there's a lot more combat function to represent to overcome your physical, but when it comes to being roguey and sneaky, I don't think that we have as well systems in place as well
Other
to
than
help overcome
hide,
that.
hidden
Yeah.
dash and invisibility.
Like
really
as a joke the other day to show, like, someone cast invisibility on me and I wear full on scale mail, and so I started jumping up and down going, yeah, I'm hidden, to just kind of point out the fact that they could still hear me even though I was completely invisible. Lone Star's getting into some philosophical debates here about what good and evil really are. Let's see. I'm good at sneaking around even without typing, and I am 6'3", without trying. The typing made no sense, and I'm 6'3", just tend to walk silently. At Lone Star, I agree with that. So see.
So with Lone Star, it's the discussion or the morality behind good and evil is really kind of depicted in game by whether or not you actively try to hinder what the party, what the town is trying to accomplish. So like right now, we're trying to put it into Tal Sigor, which is this big arc lich and everything. There's a big story behind it. We won't get into, but we are trying to actively remove them from power. The way that you would be depicted as an evil person in town is if you are actively trying to hinder that progress. And because Talsigor is an Archlich and has all kinds of ties to necromancy and undead and stuff like that, if you yourself play a necromancy character who is trying to empower the undead or trying to bring more undead into town, stuff like that, that would, at this point, be considered a very evil act. So where the act of being a necromancer is simply illegal, not necessarily evil, because you are actively trying to hinder what the town is trying to do, that would be what depicts you as an evil PC.
Right. Yeah.
So Kavoth Arcana says, this sounds so much fun. Well, I'm glad that's kind of the point of doing these things, is so that we can kind of overcome some of the myths and different thoughts about what LARP is and isn't. And then Lone Star says, exactly, I assume you guys consider them evil, but they probably don't see themselves as evil. And I would say most evil characters don't consider themselves evil, because that would be admitting something about themselves that they don't want to admit.
Well, again, going back to the discussion we were having about Leaf, Leaf never once considered himself evil because he was trying to do, everything he did was for the greater good.
Trying to protect Cerelia from the abyss.
Yeah, everything that he was doing was, to him, the righteous thing to do. Even though a lot of what he did either broke laws or took other people out of their comfort zone, where it's like, okay, well, to do the right thing, we have to blow up an orphanage? That doesn't seem right. And then Leaf would just run in there with a bomb.
Yeah.
Because it's like, this is a thing we have to do, we have to get it done, and by doing it, we accomplish this goal. Done. And so where everybody else would be standing around having this moral discussion about it, he'd just run in and be like, all right, it's done, guys.
Yeah.
Yep.
So whether that made him evil or not, that's up to debate for the individual. But everything he saw that he was doing.
We do have a lot of debates in game about this as well, between the different characters and points of view.
Yeah,
So-
I've had plenty of screaming matches between myself and the White Knights and stuff like that, because the White Knights always take the kind of more lawful route to it. You know, they see, so evil to a White Knight is anything that is against the law.
Yep.
And because of who Crow is, where he started, his connections with, you know, the past and stuff like that, Crow never really saw it that way, where, you know, even Crow being the sheriff and stuff like that would be like, if a thing needs to get done, it needs to happen. If it's against the law, maybe we should talk to a couple of people and then do it.
Yeah.
And the White Knights always,
No.
didn't have that opinion.
And they have such a finite code that they have to follow that it makes it a little difficult for them. But
right, and that's what I'm saying.
But some of them take it to an next degree that's not even necessarily in the code. So,
Sure. Well, and I think a lot of people coming into Mythic, into a LARP, will come into game with that D&D mentality.
yeah.
You know, you'll come into game and you'll see that we have a monk class. That is not a D&D monk. You know, you do not have to be the lawful alignment to be a monk. You know, it's the monk is simply described as somebody who has learned the martial ability to use their fists as weapons.
So Kavoth Arcana makes a good comment that I kind of agree with, that says the scariest of villains are the ones that believe they are doing the right thing or the ends justify the means. These mentalities are far more horrifying than I'm going to destroy this city because it's fun, at least to me.
And that's what I said. So that kind of chaotic evil mentality, where it's just, I destroy things because I like to see things burn. That's very rare in the game, and especially as, like, you'll see some NPCs that are that way, but as far as player characters go, you don't see that too often. When somebody does play an evil character, they are playing the absolute neutral evil character, where they're doing it, you know, they're considered evil because they're going against the laws of the land and everything, but they are doing it because they believe they are right and just in what they are doing.
Yep.
Cheyenne says, AKA who?
Arthas?
Arthas, and
Yeah.
I don't know why.
So the Lich King.
Okay.
The Lich
So
King
the
and WoW,
Lich
yeah.
King, yep. Yeah, so everything that he did because he absolutely believed that it was what needed to happen.
Yep.
And he did some horrible, horrible things to make it happen, which made him an enemy in the eyes of all of Azeroth.
Everyone else.
Sylvanas now.
Or
Yeah,
sure,
so
sure is. So, but yeah, it's doing those evil things for the greater good.
Or
Makes you an enemy of the state, as it were.
To make Nevitz happy, a Final Fantasy VII reference. So Sephiroth. Sephiroth believed 100% he was doing what was for the greater good of the planet.
Yeah.
Nope.
But really, he was just off his rocker.
Yeah. Yeah. Sephiroth was just insane.
But he didn't believe he was doing evil. He fully believed he was doing good. So I mean, I agree. That's a scary mentality to try to deal with. But
Rip Aerith.
So I feel like we've covered everything for retirement, haven't we? We've covered the benefits, the reason for doing it, and stuff like that.
Yeah, like I said, it'll be interesting to see what they actually decide to do, because I think Crow is retiring as one of the more wealthy and well-to-do people, just because again, not just your money is taken into account, but the years that you've been playing the character and your memberships with Mythic, how long you've just been involved in the community and everything, are all things that are taken into account. And specifically, since Crow kind of wanted to leave a legacy behind and did other things specifically for the town, like with the buildings and stuff like that, plot recognizes those things and you get benefits from it. So like I was saying before, going into it with the mentality of, okay, well, I'm only going to retire with, say, 10 gold, but I've got 25 gold right now, so I'm just going to blow the other 15. Again, plot takes those things into consideration, and they see you just throw those things out, or like, I have all these magic items, so hey, I'm just going to give them out because I know I'm retiring. Plot notices those things, and they're actually held as a negative against you when you retire, because it's now no longer things that you can invest in. It's no longer a continuous growth type thing. So you just throw all this stuff away, and it's taken from plot when you get your adventurer package as you just like to throw things away. So all right, you threw all this stuff away, you get way less now in your adventurer package. So it's actually worthwhile to benefit the game for more than one way. You're an adventurer, you're trying to help the town accomplish their things and whatnot, but like Crow, being in his position and everything like that, I specifically wanted to help people. Kane was a friend for years and years and years and years, and when he retired, I know he didn't retire with very much, because when Kane wasn't very good with his money, and so he didn't retire with much. So he retired with a lot of years behind him and everything, but I think he only retired with like 6 gold. And so when he went out of game and everything, they're like, hey, here's kind of your adventurer's package, because you didn't have a whole lot, here's kind of what you get. And I planned, so after Kane retired, I went to plot, and I was like, hey, can we do something? Can I help? And yeah, it's on my retirement. They're like, okay, now that you're retiring, now we can look at stuff that you invest in to help him or to help the town. And all those things are taken into consideration when you retire. So it's not just leaving game with a bunch of stuff. It's actively involving yourself with making things better. So
That's awesome.
So Nevin says he disagrees with me about Final Fantasy VII. That's fair, because I've never beaten it, so I don't know the full story arc of Sephiroth. Lone Star says he doesn't necessarily mean they follow the laws of the land, and that's true. That's evil. But under the same thing, chaotic good doesn't necessarily follow the laws of the land either, and that's why LARP is it's hard to put it under those same alignment choices from D&D, and why you kind of have to step outside of that.
Yeah,
Well,
and
and
in reality, and this crosses over into LARP, nobody is ever like a one specific alignment. Everyone fluctuates from situation to situation.
You're in a LARP, your character can fluctuate randomly, even from event to event. Like, as things happen, as things progress, as things happen to your character, or things happen where you kind of have that internal struggle of doing this versus doing that. Yeah, it's one of the reasons we don't have an alignment scale on characters in Mythic, is because you get to decide literally from every moment how you react to everything.
Yep.
Zapata says, wait, you've never beat Final Fantasy VII. Nevis Gaming says, Crow's reaction to Aerostar not beating Final Fantasy VII is the same face I've had for years. And then Nevis says, I know, right, at Zapata. Well, there's a reason for it, but we will. I guess we'll get into it since it's been brought up. So
See, and now they're coming out with the remake.
Okay, I just found out something about the remake, so I'm excited again. So we'll talk about that later. But Final Fantasy VII, the reason I never beat it, I got through the entire game. I saved it right in that dungeon, right before the door where you walk through and fight Sephiroth. So I saved it, and then I moved. And then when moving was all done, I loaded the game up, and I'm like, let's do some leveling up here real quick. And that's how I noticed that all my materia was gone. It had literally been somehow corrupted and deleted from the save file. So here I am at the end of the game with absolutely no materia to fight the end boss, and I was like, well, I'm done. And so
you lost all of your Knights of the Round fully.
I didn't have Knights of the Round, but I still, everything else was gone. And so I just have never gone through I've started to beat it multiple times. I just never have because I just get bored with it. But I am on a kick right now to beat every Final Fantasy from 1 through 10, starting at 1, ever since I beat Final Fantasy 5.
Only 1 through 10?
Yeah, because after that you get those online ones, and then it kind of gets. I mean, I might go
gets
through and beat
weird
13 and all them, but 10 and 10 too, I'll beat that one as well. But
10 too.
So yeah, I know, but it's on the list.
We'll just not talk about that.
Yeah, it's on the list, and I'm started with Final Fantasy 1, and I'm like halfway through Final Fantasy 1 already. So it's just
Gaming Mama. Are we not talking LARP anymore?
No, we're not. It's switched.
We got on a little bit of a tangent for Final Fantasy since it was mentioned, but yeah, we'll start talking about LARP.
So X2 Final Fantasy dress up, yes. So let's talk about this video that I have saved. Or not saved, but okay. Well, we have to get it queued up because we don't have it.
Oh my gosh.
So while we're waiting for that, and
this
everything.
video will lead into with talking about the difference between tabletop gaming and live action role play, right?
Can
like
we
this
full
is
screen that?
this is a little bit of like a hey, let's have some practice in real life skills. What are you capable of, right? Yeah.
So wait, which one? So this is
Okay.
this is Lita, right? So you're the one.
So the one on the right with the two-handed axe is me.
This one?
Yep, right there.
I don't know if you have cursor capture on, but
Yeah.
so yeah.
It's on.
Okay.
I've got you over here. Are you ready?
Yep.
Alright, so this is the Armored Combat League. I'm fighting against two other women. It's all of our first time ever actually fighting. And that axe was so heavy to swing. See, she's got the smaller axe in her hand. She was hitting me in the helm with that, just like beating my head. It finally just got into a shoving match because neither of us had enough energy to swing our weapons anymore. It was so crazy. That armor is so heavy.
So how does it, like, you just have to get them down and it's...
Yeah, you just
'cause
have to
I
knock them
noticed-
down.
I noticed you hit her leg like a bunch right here and she just doesn't, and I was like, I don't know.
I couldn't swing the axe hard enough to actually do anything. I ended up just resorting to pushing people over because I just couldn't swing it fast enough, hard enough, or anything. It was so... It was an awesome experience to be hit with like real metal heavy weapons. I mean, like, so I'm sitting there in the chair. I've got all of the rest of the armor on. They've just finished putting everything on me. And they're like, all right, we got to fit your helm, right? And I'm like, okay. So we like do the whole thing and get my face in the helmet and get it all adjusted. And I'm sitting there. And Buddy Sellers is sitting in front of me, and he's got this mace in his hand, this metal like mace in his hand. And he's like, you ready? And I was like, I guess. And he just goes, whack, 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 whack. And I'm like, holy crap,
crap, you just he just whacked me in the head with a metal mace. And all it did was ring really loud, but I didn't feel anything.
Yeah,
It was
but it protects you really well.
Cool.
So
cool.
I have a retirement related question. As far as costuming goes, when a character retires, are you able to reuse armor pieces, or do you have to have a completely different look for the new character?
Okay, so the kind of standing rule for that, as far as LARP goes, or as far as Mythic goes specifically, is if you are playing a different character, it has to be recognized as a different character from a distance. So where this is Crow's armor, if I wanted to play another character that wore this armor, it would be very difficult, because if from a distance, even if I wasn't wearing the purple headband or anything like that, from a distance, if somebody saw this armor, they'd immediately think, oh, there's Crow.
Right.
So
you could get around that with having a tabard or something.
Yeah. So if I wanted to wear this armor, but I put a tunic over it, or a tabard or something like that to make it appear different from a distance, absolutely. So yeah, it's I could absolutely use this armor. This was quite an expensive investment on my part and everything like that. But this is what kind of depicts Crow. So if I come in for one of those 4 events or something like that, and I walk in with this,
I wear with almost every single character I have, but because it's just the corset,
right?
I pair it with a bunch of different things.
Right. Well, and as you've seen with her past couple characters, they've been drastically different from each other. So even if the things that you wear kind of underneath or something like that are the same, that's perfectly fine. It'd be the same thing with Jovi. If Jovi came in with if he came in with a new character, not Jovi, but he was wearing that same cape, that's a little bit of a gray area, because from a distance, if somebody saw him from behind wearing that cape, they'd immediately assume he was that character. So the standing rule on that is you have to appear from a distance as a different person. So you can reuse costume pieces and stuff like that, as long as from a distance you appeared as a different person.
So K-Both Arcane says, how can I do that specifically with the armor thing? They're called the Armored Combat League, right? Are they in other states?
Yeah, they're all over. So that
I would
that
look them
video,
up.
the event that was yesterday. We had people from California and Nevada. They'd invited people from Idaho, but none of them showed up. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So I would recommend looking them up.
Armored Combat League,
Yeah, look them up on Facebook, or they do have a webpage that we're going to share with you right now for, because I don't know where you're at locally, K-Box Arcana, but even for LARP, I would just recommend looking for them on Facebook, trying to type in a local area on Facebook, see if you can find anything there. Sabata says you have no idea how paranoid I would be to do that. Yeah, that's kind of scary. How sharp was that axe?
So everything is dull.
They're blunted.
They're blunted.
I've worked a lot with the Armored Combat League as well myself. So
yeah, everything was blunted, but it's still this fucking metal star that you're getting pounded with. Yes, it was terrifying. To speak to your paranoia, I was when they first were hey, do you want to fight? And I was
I don't not want to fight.
Sure, and they were just sure? Are you sure? I'm yeah, let's do this, And so they kind of matched me at body size with one of the other guys there, and they're all right, you're just gonna wear his armor, and we put it on and it all fit really, really well. And then I'm sitting there, I was one of the first people to get all my armor on, and so I'm sitting there waiting for everyone else to get kitted up, and I'm starting to go looking around at and they're all right, what weapon do you want to use? And I was do I have to? Can I?
The nerves suddenly set in, and
right, and then people got all geared up and everything, and I stood up and was kind of walking around in the armor, getting used to the now top heavy center of gravity, and and I was okay, no, I can do this, all right. And then we're all standing there, and they're getting ready to call fight, and I'm oh shit, this is happening. It was so much fun. It was so exhausting. So the rounds are only for 1 minute, and I was
heaving, huffing, puffing, like I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move, I was shaking.
It's the longest 60 seconds in your life.
Seriously, the longest 60 seconds in your life. And then they were like, all right, round 2. And I'm like, round 2 already? They're like, yeah, you get 60-second break in between. I was like, ah! It was so awesome, though. Like, so much adrenaline. When I took off the armor, I was like, and everyone was like, are you okay? Do you need some water? I was like, I mean, yeah, but it's really just from the adrenaline. It was so cool.
A whole different experience.
Nevin says his armor is iconic because they've been using it for so long, so I would never reuse it for another character.
I'm the same way. So like, even though I could make alterations to this or something like that to continue to reuse it for another character, or slap a tunic on top of it, or change out some of the leather or something like that to obviously make it someone different. I kind of want to keep this as the iconic Crow armor, so that if anybody ever saw this come into game, or saw me walking around in this, it would just instantly click, hey,
That's Crow.
He's here.
Kavoth Arcane says, are you bruised?
Did you get bruised from
Oh, I actually don't think so. I mean, I have bruises normally. Actually, that's probably from... So most of the bruising isn't from being hit. It's from the armor pinching, especially since it wasn't my armor.
Nope. When it doesn't fit just perfectly, I had the same thing. That's when I fought with the Armor Combat League. They kind of tried to match me up with somebody else, but that doesn't work so well. So like the elbow piece didn't fit quite right. So every time you bend your arm, you're like, ow.
Yeah.
You know who that is? Do you want to mute him?
No, I mean, calling, I don't know. I know who Nami is, but...
Calling on Discord. I don't have anyone doing over here on Discord.
I don't have unlimited internet. I don't have any missed calls. Hold on.
Yeah, so, yeah, that was a whole new experience, and I was really, really glad I did it, and I think I'm going to continue to do it. Buddy Sellers has offered to train me in sword fighting, so I think I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Well, it's a talk show where we just talk to other people here. We don't necessarily talk to just audience members. I mean, if you wanted to interact, you can just ask questions and stuff like that. So
Right.
Yeah. If you've got a question or something, feel free to type it out, and we'll absolutely.
I don't know what Nami means.
Yeah, like I know of a person named Nami.
Where we call you don't call in, you just type in your questions.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did join my Discord. Thanks for that. But yeah, we just type in.
Yeah, just type in your questions. We'll answer them for you.
Yeah, sorry, we can't accommodate to like a bunch of calls coming in all the time. So I apologize for that, but.
We're more than accommodating if you've got any questions or anything, which I guess puts it back out there. Like, do the two of you, or does anybody out there, do you have any more questions for Crow specifically or anything? I mean, since I'm gone and everything, that's not a whole lot of chances to talk with him in-game anymore or anything. So if there's anything you ever wanted to know, now's the time to ask. Or if any of you out there have any more questions about LARP or how to retire a question, whatever's going on there, please let us know.
So,
Dalton, talk about Leaf.
Well, we just got a new follower. So, Dalton Brown, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? My neighbor.
Hi, Dalton.
Is that too loud? But like, I think we're still really loud.
I mean, we're
probably fine.
spiking in the
little
red.
bit, but
Yeah, we're spiking in the red, so it makes me worry, especially when I sing. So, hey guys, how are you all? We're doing good. So, Gaming Mama, what's your question? Go ahead and write that. Let's see. Is there a time frame, minimum or max, between when a character retires to when you intro a new character?
Nope.
Demon neighbor.
Right. I saw the name and I recognized it, and I was like, "Hey, look, it's Leaf."
Yeah.
It's funny because we were talking about.
We were talking about you. Yeah, we were talking about you before, Dalton. So you might want to
Go back and listen.
listen back when the recording hits and stuff like that, and see what we're talking about you. But no, there's no minimum or maximum time. So like, I'm probably just gonna NPC for the next little while until I've settled on a character concept that I want to come in with, and then of course there's the costuming, a little bit of both, Dalton.
A little bit, yeah. So.
But then there's of course the question of costuming and getting gear and stuff like that. I don't think I'm going to go nearly as gung ho with the eyes together. Unfortunately, I'm sure like Jovi has said and Boji has said and stuff like that. It's really kind of hard to move around when you're this packed in armor and stuff like that. Like I can't bend over and touch my toes at all or anything like that. So if I drop something on the ground, I usually regale myself to telling somebody else to pick it up, which worked really well as Crow because I could get away with that kind of stuff because everybody kind of knew who Crow was, how powerful he was, and so nobody was really
if you're in a lot of armor, most people are pretty accommodating.
They're a little bit more accommodating.
They are.
And I mean, I could take a knee and pick it up or anything like that, but especially for a lot of the new adventures and stuff, I'd kind of pick on them. And so, like, if I was trying to, buckle something up and I drop my axe or if I drop my helmet or something like that, I'd just kind of look at one of the new people or whatever and I'd be like, you, pick it up. And they just kind of look at me and be like, oh, I've heard about you. Oh, okay. And they pick it up and they kind of hand it to you like, oh, don't squish me. And so, yeah, I mean, I always had fun with that. But
yeah, there's no minimum, though. Like, when Kane retired Mike, next session, new character, boom, just like that. He
already had a concept and a costume and everything like that, so he came in literally the next event with a new character. But
hey, you with arcane armor on, pick up that thing. Yeah,
or just somebody who wasn't wearing armor. Like I'd pick on the pirates a lot because a lot of the pirates just kind of wore their baggy shirts and stuff like that. And so yeah, no, I'd pick on the pirates a lot, or the mages or something like that. I think there's a couple of times I even told Zisto too, and he would kind of look at me with the like, but he would still do it.
So Gaming Mama asks, how do new characters get introduced into current plot?
So that's kind of all dependent on you.
Yeah.
If there is a specific way, like we had a character who brought his character in and specifically talked with plot about a character introduction to where during that module there were some wolves or something like that they encountered, and his new character was specifically kind of hiding out in the bushes and everything, and then as soon as the wolves started fighting him,
new characters are found inside a treasure chest. Yes.
So he literally, as soon as they encountered the wolves, just came around the corner and was like, oh, I've been hunting these wolves. And that was kind of his character introduction. You could literally do the whole, like, while everybody's in the tavern, I walk into tavern and, hey, I'm a new adventurer. Like, I heard about Northwatch, I heard about the adventurers, and I decided this is the lifestyle for me.
Right.
So
that's basically really how I introduced Vita.
It's a lot of people just kind of do the classic, I walk into town, I'm a new adventurer. And because the players are definitely accommodating for new PCs coming in, unless you come in doing something odd, you're usually welcomed in. It's just, oh, you want to be an adventurer? That sucks for you. Okay, come sit down with us.
Right. Like, when I came back, because I played maybe 2 or 3 times with Jovi, and then I disappeared for years. So when I came back, they actually had a mission designed around Jovi, which I missed because my armor wasn't ready. So what they ended up doing was the following day, they just had a Falcon Crest guard escort me into town and introduce me to some of the important people because I was here on a mission from a lord. So it wasn't a major introduction, but it was a little bit more than just walking into town by myself. Right. So I at least got some form of introduction. Let's see.
So, and there have been, going back on the comment of being found in the treasure chest, there have been a couple of introductions where it's you go and you rescue a person and you totally, like, the entire party assumes that you're going and you're rescuing an NPC. And so they open the cell door or whatever and they find you chained up there or whatever, and that is your new PC. You are so grateful and indebted to the Adventurers of Northwatch that now you start adventuring with them. So yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. Dalton says, I played Leaf and Alamo at the same time before I retired Leaf. Yep, some people do that. They have a secondary character that they start playing more. Gaming Mama says, I was looking at the site and it says to apply to be a PC you have to have a background, But if you know nothing about the world, how can you create a backstory?
Okay, so you don't have to have a background to start playing a character. I would say, especially if you're new to the game, your first PC is probably going to fluctuate a little bit as you learn how the different skills work and how the world works and stuff like that. You're probably going to fluctuate a little bit. Having a character background has a few benefits to your character, but is not required. When designing a background specifically, you kind of come up with what you would like as a background. So it's, like for my character, I wanted, hey, I was part of this clan of barbarians, something awful happened, they were all killed off, but I've been seeking this and do that. And then once you present that background to plot, they design a way to
adapt it to
include that. So where it was all of my people were killed, it was then plots designed to be like, oh well, because of how your background is worded and everything, with the shaman of our troop testing creature blood and stuff like that to amplify their own magic, it's okay, they were using dragon blood to do so, and because of that they rose the ire of a group called the Wyvern's Whip, who hates people who use dragon powers and stuff like that. So it's this group of people that came in and killed your clan, and everything else from there just developed based on how plot kind of interpreted my background for the world of Cerealia.
So Lone Star asked, how's the wrist? Well, thanks for asking. It's doing better, but it still hurts for some reason, so I have to go back in because they said if it hurts after a week, something else might be wrong. So I have to go in. We'll have to figure that out. So, yeah, but Dalton is right. There's a lot of information on the website. You don't necessarily have to delve super deep. You could just simply go look at the map and say, I'm from here.
And then read about that area.
So it says there. So Dalton's saying, the forums have a lot of deep history. That's going to be a lot of reading. If you go to the website, there's actually a world library portion that's going to tell you a lot about those specific areas. So right now we're playing in Taroth. So if you're going into the world library, go into the Taroth portion of it, and you'll see all the specifics about the different countries in Taroth and everything like that, and
it's an awesome resource.
Kind of the background areas of those and everything, and it even breaks down and specifies, if you want to play a war-torn hero from a land that has been previously sieged and stuff like that, you probably want to be from this area. Or if you want to be a mercenary who is a sword for hire or a pirate or something like that, you want to be from this area. So it's actually pretty well laid out, so that if you're wanting to tie your character into the story right out the gate, you can do that, but you still have to work with plot, because you can't just come into game being like, I am the son of a high noble from this area and I have rights to become the next king.
Right.
So it's stuff like that you kind of have to work out with plot to do so. They're not just going to immediately tell you no, but there's going to be things that you have to do in game to really seek that out.
Yeah.
So at Kalox Arcana, I would say that we're located in Utah. The LARP that we play specifically is located in Utah. But I would hope that there might be something locally for you. Like I said, look it up. But yeah, we're in Utah. We're more central Utah, I guess you could say, specifically. So we're streaming out of the Ascendance Gaming Center in Utah. Let's see. Well enough to play the next event? Probably. We'll have to see. I might NPC it though, Nevitz. I know you don't want to hear that. So let's see. Yeah, a bit far from where you guys are. Let's see. Name to
the wind fan.
I love that. I can't read that. I love that book.
The wind fan.
The old wind fan. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about with background too is that I didn't know a lot about the world, and so when I created my background, I actually kind of specifically wrote it, and I was like, all right, I'm from this area, and I went to go learn from this group that does this, and I literally left brackets for plot, insert name of appropriate group here. And like literally like, and I sent it to them, and then they sent it back to me with the name of the group and then a little bit of like information about that group so that I knew what they talked about. So that's how me and Boji ended up with our backgrounds, is that I wrote it and it was like we weren't 100% knowledgeable either. And so I just was like, Boji went here with this tribe, name them please. And then I went here with this organization, name them please. And then they did. They sent it back to us, and they sent information for Boji, for Nevitz, so that he could learn about this tribe that taught him and for this organization that taught me. And so they helped us fill in the gaps, and they're more than willing to do that with new players that don't have the time to want to read all of that, because there's a lot of history.
Well, and some of the stuff is unknown entirely as well. So yeah, so like he was saying, plot is more than accommodating. If you have an idea of what kind of character you want to be, plot is more than accommodating to let you know how that can work. Now, like I was saying before, not everything just works right away, but for the majority of everybody's story, what they would like it to be, plot will work with you to figure out how that works in the world.
Oh, okay, that's cool. They actually see, and that's the other thing too. If it's far enough back, like with Boji's case, they actually let him name the name of the tribe and make it all up, and they just incorporated it into the world. So
it's the same thing with me, like with the whole Clan of the Bear thing. You know, being in the continent of or the country of Nadrak and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, they just kind of went, okay, well, I mean, it's a nomadic barbarian tribe, so it doesn't hugely affect how the world works or how the world is seen or how the how the country grows or anything like that. So yeah, we'll just adopt this into the story. So
Dalton says orphans, former slaves, war-torn cultures, etc. are pretty common backstories, sometimes combined. Like
all of the above.
I had one person who their backstory was she was a former slave that was also an orphan, who she ended up in her backstory saying that me and another character named Divis actually ended up saving her. So even though she was an orphan, he ended up finding out that she has ties to his family. So she was, that was a father-daughter thing. But so yeah, she was both. She was an orphan and a former slave who we ended up saving from slavers, and so that's how she came in game, knowing my character, because I had rescued her in the past in her backstory. So
yeah, I mean, with my backstory, I wanted to include a reason if I ever needed to bring my younger children into game with me. And so I said that my character was in the military at Ethlynspire, and I had a sister who had a family, and my sister had been killed mysteriously. And I kind of left it vague and open how exactly she died, that it was kind of looked like an accident. There was a lot of suspicion behind it. But I had to leave the military in order to take care of my sister's children. And so for the most part, I paid two sisters to watch the children while I adventured and earned the money, right? But every once in a while, when my kids would come in the game with me, they were my nieces and nephews. But that whole thing led to basically the beginning of Lita's plotline, because they used that murdering of my sister was done, because of a prophecy that somebody had gotten their hands on about my bloodline, and they'd murdered my sister, and now they needed to, then they murdered me at Winterfest. And yeah, it was, but I came back through the circle where my sister hadn't. And yeah, it was pretty cool. It wasn't anything at all what I had been expecting, but I really enjoyed where plot took that backstory.
Yeah, and they're really good about involving those personal plot things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Nevitz says the name of his tribe is the Broken Claw tribe of Muradrim. He's got about soon. That's fine, Nevitz. I don't know how much longer we're going to be going.
Yeah, I was going to say, as we kind of go off topic and everything like that, let's throw it out there. Do you guys have any questions for Crow before you never see him again?
I mean, can we get a hold of Crow somehow, or like a missive, or
I mean,
no?
that would be an in-game thing to pursue, but missives are specifically for people who are on your plane of existence.
That's what I thought.
If he's
So
not,
no.
then no. Oh man.
So I mean, it's with Dalton and Nevitz out there and everything like that. It's perfect time to ask any questions about Crow while he's
Well, he's sitting
not around.
here.
I will
Yep.
see you.
It might be your last chance.
I will see you in your nightmares.
Bring it on, Leaf.
I mean, he's going through time and space, so you might have a hard time coming up with something more creepy than what he's seeing on a daily basis.
It's true. It's true.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't really have any questions for Crow. He was always kind of just a straightforward.
He says, darn.
Darn. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. We kind of had our conversation before you left, and I think I asked you everything I was. Like, I asked you about the aspect of the beast, and you told me where to pursue that. And I don't know that there's active for 3. This is our longest stream so far. We've really been going. So we were worried we weren't going to make time,
Right.
but we totally made time and then some. So
They say that every week, though.
I know. Well, I was like, retirement. There's not that much to talk about.
I'm
but-
never worried about making time. I
Well-
will just talk forever.
Yeah, we could talk forever too, but I think we'll
Yeah,
kind of
it
get this.
comes down to stories and stuff like that. I've got so many stories I could tell about LARP or just things that have happened or things that have gone on.
And we'll cycle through everyone. It says that at least Leaf won't be getting teabagged by Crow.
See where Crow might not be accessible, Leaf is, and we know how to find him. So let me just remind Leaf that I am traveling with the Dragon of Travel. So if we know where to go,
It sounded like a promise to me.
I mean, I won't say anything specific will happen, but you know.
Let's see. Challenge accepted. Well, I don't know what did I say that was a challenge.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You'll have to remind me. Falcor. Well, Falcor. Oh boy.
All right.
I agree. Try telling him that and see what happens. But I think that's the end of the stream.
Yeah, so we're not going to be here next week because we will be LARPing. It's our weekender, our last weekender of the season.
Big September weekender, yep. In the
So-
Arbor Isles.
Yeah, it's going to be epic. I'm NPCing.
So am I.
You're NPCing.
Depending on
You
how
won't
I
be there?
feel, I may or may not be
You're
there.
NPCing.
If you are there, will you be PCing or NPCing?
No, I'll be NPCing if I am
Okay.
there for sure. I don't have anything to do with the Arbor Isles, so
So I think it's going to be kind of the culmination of that storyline. So
You guys know if I can make it, if I have to participate, or if I can just chill in a tent.
Yeah, you can just come chill with me at NPC camp.
yeah, I mean, if you just want to show up to just hang
See
out
you,
and
Lone
whatnot,
Star.
you're more
Or
than
you can-
you're more than welcome.
Chill with Verdun at the galley.
yeah, if I come, I might have to. I don't know. I'll have to see about bunking with somebody because I don't want to set up my own tents. But I mean, the pirates doing the pirate
Yeah,
thing.
the pirates will be there.
So
Yeah, I think most of the pirates are planning on being there. So
Yeah, as far as I'm aware.
so the following week, which is I don't know what September something. We will be interviewing Jayla,
would that
and
be
she might.
29th?
I think this is the 29th, so we'll be interviewing Jayla, and she might be bringing another guest as well. I don't know what character he'll be, so I can't say that now. And we will be discussing various races and the racial makeup that are required to play those races. So
Excellent.
you might. So yeah.
Do you want to mention your charity one more time?
Yeah, so we do have a donation box up for the Mother's Nest charity. That is a nonprofit organization that supports postpartum women.
and that's it's very important to me that women get that support that they need. It's a lot of mental, emotional, and physical stress having a baby, and this organization has really been doing good work in trying to get the help for mommies that they need.
Cool. Well, thanks everyone for being here. Oh yeah, we also want to talk real quick about this LARP is only made possible because the Ascendance Gaming Center has let us use their space. They are located in southern Utah, southern Salt Lake in central Utah. Yeah, South Salt Lake. They have you can come. It's a LARP center. You can come play.
It's not a LARP.
Not a LARP
Not a
center.
LARP.
I have LARP on my brain. It's a LAN, not LA. Yeah, so it's a LAN center. You can come and play here. Yeah, no, that would be the worst thing. So yeah, so I had LARP on the brain because we've been talking about it for 3 hours. But it's a LAN center. They have VR. They also have 3 ultra computers, so you can come play games on the highest graphics, 120 FPS if you need it. I don't know why, but 60 is really all you need. But you know how you guys are.
No, if it's anything less than 100, it don't count.
Yeah. So anyway, so they're here Monday through Sunday. I open at 5 o'clock. So I might be able to come be Elmo if you want. Yeah, I would love to have you come be on stream, especially since you've got a lot to talk about, especially with your long history as well with Leaf and Alamo.
Long history,
So
the connection between Mythic and Castle.
yep. And so October might be a great time for you to come on here. So
Absolutely.
I'll have to talk to you about that in person though, Dalton. So or we can message on the boards. But I appreciate that. So thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for all the questions. We really appreciate them. Thanks for all the follows. I'm losing my voice now apparently. So.
Talking too long. Shut up.
Yep. So, and special thanks to Crow for being here, and for Lita being our permanent co-host. So, thanks everyone. Have a great, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Already up.
What?
Is Nevitz already up streaming?
No, not quite.
Oh, okay.
He has errands and stuff to run though. So, I don't want to raid anybody though.
Okay.
Just because I can't be there, and I don't like just dropping off viewers and then being like, peace out. You know what I mean? So.